Hello, everyone, and welcome into a special edition of Debate Night. Found a way to hopefully do it. Fingers crossed. We'll see if it works. And so we're live over on Twitter Spaces. We're going to be bringing in a few different people here who have topics they want to debate and get ready to roll. But Brodie, I think you said you wanted to address something here before we got the ball rolling.
Yeah, so we obviously haven't done this in a really, really long time. And initially, this was the whole idea of debate night originated from these Twitter spaces that I was doing prior to debate night. And once we started, it seemed like the call-ins got very like, what's your favorite mid-range? What's your favorite tournament? It was very like just questions, which is fine, completely fine. And I think there is a time and a place for that. We might have something set up to where we end up maybe having an email address or something like that to where people send in their questions and then we can read some and answer them. But that wasn't really what the premise of Debate Night's podcast was supposed to be. And after, I don't know, several weeks of doing that, me having the Julius Caesar people never was a fun thing. We decided to just take the show off live, pre-record it with me and you and Silas pretty much in the mornings a lot of times because I was traveling and whatnot. And then we would just kind of post it later. And me and you have, we've debated on some topics, disagreed on some, but it seems like there has been a spark on Twitter recently, mainly based off of dress code. And that's kind of, we'll see if anyone calls in about that. But that was kind of like oh, wait a second. We have some people that actually might want to call in and debate us on stuff. Now, this is where it kind of gets tricky, right? Because you have to actually call in with something already in mind. Because we've had people before call in and be like, well, what do you want to debate about? And it's like, well, that's not really what the show is. Like, there's hours and hours and hours of podcasts that me and you have sat down and talked and probably have said some ridiculous things. Like, it's that this is the perfect time to bring up some ridiculous stuff that we have said that you don't believe is true or you disagree with, and then we can talk it out. So this is definitely not a, hey, I want to debate. What do you want to debate on? It's like, I'm not trying to come up with things. Like, everything I've said, at least at this point, I feel like I believe. So if you have something that you disagree with, love to hear it, and we can go from there. But I think Silas is good. I think everyone's good. We got some people on here. I know, like I said, this is where we'll see if the show continues, because we could do potentially like a second debate night almost, of where maybe we call it, maybe we change our original debate night podcast to something else, and then debate night becomes this. If we get people calling in, and this show really only exists if we get people calling in. That's what I want to say.
No.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, let's go ahead, get in. I got a list kind of forming as people are requesting, so we'll try to get to you in the order you requested. Hopefully I have it in the right order. But it looks like Evan's the first one up. So, Evan, no pressure, man, but here we go. Adding as a speaker.
Yeah, starting us off here.
A lot of time connecting.
He's probably on the disc golf course somewhere.
He might be.
Or just getting off. He's like a Silas, just pulling himself off the disc golf course for this. A long time connecting. I'm going to go out on a limb and say our first attempt at having someone on here is going to fail without them even attempting a conversation. We're 0 for 1 already.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add
he needs some time.
Up.
I think he needs some time.
We're going to add Christian in here, see what's going on there.
He's got a very fancy profile photo.
He does. Very professional looking.
Hey, Brodie.
What's going on, man?
All right, we got Christian.
So I don't know if talks about these, so I might be bringing a new topic, or I might have missed it.
Hold on 1 second. Hunter, you can – hold on 1 second, Christian. Hunter, just go ahead and accept all the people that requested, and they should all mute themselves essentially. So that way they're on the ready. So that way when Christian's done, we can on to the next. Sorry, go ahead, Christian. You're good.
All right. So one of the things that I had a question about, maybe y'all just give me an answer or debate on why they don't do it, but why do disc golf courses not have multiple pin locations for the same course like golf has different pin locations on the green? And do you think like that would be beneficial for like,
It's just a question.
or like, do you think that'd be more beneficial of like, instead of playing two courses where some pros like complain about practicing for multiple courses, you practice the same course, pin location, so it brings difference to the same course, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so this is what I'll say to that. It's like you're not going to really be able to. I'm not a huge fan of courses that have, as far as like a tour course goes, has pin locations that completely alter the shots that much. I think also that doesn't really do that well for spectators because you want to have, we were talking about USDGC about how many holes USDGC you can like get a quick glimpse of it and know exactly where the player is and what they're trying to do. If we're having now wooded courses and even open courses with a bunch of different pin locations that make the holes different, I think it's really hard for spectators and viewers at home to have any idea. So what I would do, and just looking back at what USDGC does on like hole 17, is how they have the basket that we play on Monday or on Thursday and Sunday. They have that a little bit closer to the water and a little bit closer to the left side of the green. And then the B location is like 15, 20 feet to the right. It's a little bit safer. You can throw like more of a bailout shot and still have like a 30-footer. Like that changes the hole, but it's still like the same shot. I would say they could do something like that on hole 5. They could have where the basket was this year, where it was right out by the water. They could have that maybe for the final 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. And then maybe the first 2 days, Thursday and Friday, it's in a little bit more of an attackable position. Right. I'm a fan of that. I could totally be game for that. I just wouldn't want pin locations to change super drastic to where you have people throwing through this gap on this day, and then the next day you're having people throw through that gap. I feel like I kind of have changed my opinion on that, and that's mainly just from an entertainment standpoint when it comes to viewers at home, getting an idea for the course and actually like having a little bit of like, oh, wow, this shot, I know exactly what they're trying to do.
No, that's what I think the same way, and that I just want to see where it's not the same shot. Like if you have to play to the front of the green one day and to the back of the green the next day, it just adds like 20 feet to a shot, but it makes it where it's not just the same shot over and over again. And then I have one more question, if that's all right. With the playoff coming up, so a lot of people have debated on if this is a good playoff format. And my idea for a good playoff format is that what if the cut, so you have 80 at GMC, that cut that makes it to the final days to Maple Hill, if that would be the only people that get to go to MVP. So it doesn't feel like the playoffs are actually the playoffs because like you're still getting points. So if the playoffs would stop at the playoffs and then you're playing to get to the next weekend. So that cut is going to get you to the next weekend and then you get to the Tour Championship. I know it's going to be hard next year since they're back to back to back, but that would be my thought.
This is what I'll say to that is like that just as a product standpoint, that's like a terrible idea. Because again, this is like an individual sport, right? We have individual superstars, we have individual players that are obviously like at the top, and people want to go see those guys play. So just to kind of give an example with how like everything is happening and the field's getting stronger and stronger, you would hate it how, someone like Ricky, who had arguably the best season because he obviously was the points leader after Maple Hill, if he just played terrible at Maple Hill, or heck, if he got injured or something like that and he had a DNF or something happened to where he missed the cut, now all of a sudden he's not going to be at the final event. The way the playoffs, like obviously them calling it the playoffs, it's not really playoffs. They probably could have gone away with that and like made it a little bit easier for people thinking about like, well, yeah, in the NBA playoffs or the NFL playoffs, you lose, you're out. You can't have one tournament factor in like someone's chance at going to the tour championship because they've done so much work to get there. It would be a shame for them to have one bad tournament because essentially you could have a situation where someone wins every single tournament and then doesn't make the cut. Obviously that's a crazy hypothetical, but doesn't make the cut at Maple Hill and then doesn't make the tour championship. So yeah, I'm not a fan of that. I think the way they're doing it's the right way of where you have these events at the end that are just worth more points. So there is that pressure. I obviously felt it. People easily could have jumped me and I could have missed out if I didn't play well enough at Maple Hill. So I like the way they have it currently. And then if you're looking for chaos, the way they currently have it set up for the tour championship creates absolute chaos because anyone can go out and have a good day. Anyone can go out and have a bad day and you don't know. So yeah, but thanks for calling in.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Let's go back to Evan. Evan, if you're ready, floor is yours.
All right, we are 0 for 1 still. We got questions. I don't know if Christian was in here. We're trying not to have questions here, but we'll see. We'll see if Evan's got something for us.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. What's going on, Evan?
All right. Have any of you guys watched that Formula One documentary or watch any Formula One at all?
Yeah.
What if disc golf had something like that with the manufacturers where you had like your singles like world champion points and then you had like a company world champion points where, at the end of the year,
is this a question, Evan?
Maybe. I don't know. It's kind of a little bit. I mean, maybe. I thought maybe it might spark something, but I don't know. Something I've been kind of thinking about.
Are you saying this should what Formula One, what Netflix did for? Because that's the thing is like Formula One didn't do anything. Netflix did it.
No, I think he's talking about the cup.
Oh, you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, you're saying? Yeah. No. I think right now the way the manufacturers kind of run disc golf right now, the way Formula One works obviously is because the cars are so expensive, the teams are so expensive. It makes sense, and it's also like you're not going to really have. It's gonna be hard to find someone willing to throw that much money into that. Into like owning a team, right? Like I just think it's completely different situation. And
right,
what works for them, it makes sense a little bit, I guess, because again, it's like, it's way more about the car companies and the money kind of thing versus, I don't know.
Right.
I don't see that. I just don't see how that works. I just don't see how that works in disc golf. Because at the end of the day too, like I'll be the first to tell you, I'm trying to beat everyone that's sponsored by Discraft. I'm trying to beat everyone that's sponsored by Innova. And honestly, if I lose to someone that's sponsored by Innova versus losing to someone sponsored by Discraft, it sucks. It's not like, oh, at least I got beat by someone sponsored by the same company as me. No, like I'm trying to beat everyone. And obviously I know that's not the norm. There are some players out there that do view these sponsorships as like teams. I'm cut from a different cloth. I don't view them that way. You're not my teammate. I'm trying to beat you.
Right. Yeah. My thinking was more like, could you imagine like at the end of the year, you have, let's say Discraft as the most amount of points, next, they're the, 2022, like manufacturer champion for the year. And that's kind of like their title, almost kind of like a world title, but more for like the manufacturer than players.
What happens from that? Do they get a huge amount of money that then goes to the players that got them that?
Something like that could happen.
They just get a big fat bonus.
And who's giving that money out?
Right. I didn't think that far into it. I don't know. It was just one of those work thoughts I had. And
yeah. Hey, no, it's the thing that gets thrown around all the time. People are like, I want to see like Discraft versus Innova versus blah blah versus blah blah.
Right.
It's like, I think again, it's just the culture of disc golf right now, of where people view, I guess, Discraft as the Cowboys and people view Innova as the Washington Commanders or the Philadelphia Eagles. Where in other individual sports, like tennis or like golf, no one's like, I want to see Titleist versus TaylorMade. No one cares about that. Or I want to see Prince versus Wilson in tennis. No one cares about that. So same thing in basketball. Why aren't people asking? They want to see Nike athletes go up against Under Armour athletes in basketball. It's just not. It's not a thing. And again, I just think it's something that I don't know. I think personally, like the Ryder Cup situation, like that to me is way more interesting. Having like having a legit, not one like right before European Open, but having like a legit Team USA versus, and I don't even know if I mean, obviously you can go Team Europe, but I think you could probably open it up to the team world, right? Like,
okay. Yeah, I agree.
There are maybe some good players elsewhere outside of Europe, but like to me, that's way more exciting. And hopefully that's more exciting from a fan standpoint than I want to see Discraft versus Innova versus Dynamic Disc versus Prodigy. To me, that's not exciting at all. Obviously, I know I'm probably, I know that there are people that are like, what are you talking about? That would be super, super sick and super exciting because I see the posts all the time of people asking for it.
Yep.
But again, it's a weird thing because when it's Team USA versus Team Europe, there's something we all have in common, right? Like there is that like Olympics kind of feel.
Yep.
When it's Discraft versus Prodigy, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near the same of where the players are really going to get behind something, you know? That's my take.
Makes sense.
And I think it's something too, like, down the road. Right now it might sound enticing, but definitely down the road I don't think it will be nearly as enticing 10, 15, 20 years from now.
Right. I can see that.
Might not have some of these manufacturing companies, so then like what do you do?
Yeah. No, just a thought.
Yep. All right. Thanks for calling in.
All right, thank you.
All right.
All right, I believe next
Hunter,
up.
you're 0 for 2, brother. This is why we don't do this anymore.
I can't vet people. I just see them request.
Hunter, we're 0 for 2. We're
all
0
right,
for
James.
2,
James, you're next. Let's see what you're made of.
How you doing, guys? Thanks for having me on your show. I was actually calling about the topic about the dress code because I'm fairly new to disc golf, and I really don't want. I get the idea of a dress code, but like I don't want disc golf to turn into golf, if you get what I'm saying. Like the kind of the appeal to me of disc golf is having more of a relaxed type of environment, type of attitude, and I haven't really got to hear you guys take either way on the dress code situation, but I would either kind of be totally against it or for more of a relaxed to casual kind of dress code. How do you guys feel about it?
Yeah, James, to be honest with you, we'll see if someone else calls in that disagrees. I agree with you. So this conversation probably is not going to go anywhere.
That's right. All right.
Yeah. I disagree. The one thing I will say I disagree, though, is like the idea that disc golf should like maintain at the professional level, like relaxed. It's one thing if you're, again, like you will not see, if you watch the Tour Championship this Sunday, it will not be a relaxed situation. These guys are playing for $35,000. It will not be relaxed. And that's the money is the difference, right? Like when everyone's playing for a couple $100 here and there, it is relaxed and people can be joking around and all that stuff.
Sure.
When I'm trying to beat you, and if I beat you, I make another $15,000-$20,000. It's not going to be buddy relaxed, or at least it shouldn't be, or at least like if I'm in that situation, I'm not going to be like that. So that would be the only thing is like, sure, from a casual standpoint, if you're going out and playing disc golf, like I don't think disc golf should, like golf at some courses require a certain dress code. I don't think that makes any sense from like an amateur fan, spectator, hobbyist to like, no, you have to wear pants and a polo. But on the professional side of things, I just want to make sure, like I agree with you that we should not be dressing like golf, but I disagree in the relaxed take because I personally don't like that. If I'm like, you know, playing in a tournament and it's like I have to finish a certain let's just say like I have to cash a certain amount or I don't go on tour. The last thing I want is like 3 guys that are on my card that are just joking around and being like, who cares? Because they missed the cut or they're out of cash. Like they should still be taking it seriously because someone else is taking it seriously. That's my only thing with the relaxed thing. But
I was more so talking about the way the people dress as far as relaxed, not like,
oh, gotcha.
Not wearing like tight shorts. Cause like I'm more of I like to wear basketball shorts when I go play disc golf, right? Like I don't want to wear like these super tight khaki shorts.
I don't think basketball shorts look good personally. I think my ideal attire, and again, I don't care if you wear golf. If you want to wear dress pants and a polo, if you want to wear dress pants and a button down, I honestly don't care. I think if you want to dress up like that, you can do whatever you want. For me though, like the tennis attire is like kind of like the sweet spot. Like athletic shorts, but not like long baggy basketball ones.
Okay.
And then like a dry fit kind of jersey type of material for the shirt.
Right. I could see that. I watched your practice rounds with Ezra on YouTube, and dude, that course, I've never played a course like that, obviously, but good luck this weekend, dude. Cause I got
out. I got eliminated today. So my season is officially over, but thank you though.
Well, I've watched you all year, though, man. I've seen you've come along. Like I've watched and followed. I got a lot of tips from you, man. I'm a big fan of you guys and Hunter, and I appreciate you guys having me on your show.
Heck yeah, James. I appreciate that, brother. You have a wonderful night.
All right, bye.
That was close.
Yeah,
we're getting warmer.
That was good. Because that could have been 6 months ago. That's a debate.
Yeah, no, like I said, like that was a topic that I completely did a 180 on. Well, yeah, not really 180 because I think initially I was like, we should all wear like collared shirts and golf shorts and stuff. But now I'm like, I'm okay with people wearing that. So I didn't do a 180 and was like, no one should wear that and everyone should wear this. But I've added on. The more I've gotten dirt all over me and like I'm like leaning into like, fire ant piles and I'm having to stick my hand through thorn bushes and stuff. It doesn't feel like Sunday church clothes is the ideal clothing for me playing disc golf.
Yeah, I will ask one quick question. You were referencing how you didn't think basketball shorts were the way to go, more like the tennis attire, so on and so forth. How do you regulate that, or can you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, man, I think you could say like no baggy shorts.
Well, like where's the line? Is it like
No, I know, but
pull it off?
I mean, you got to set a line somehow, and that is like when you look at dress codes for certain things, right? Like there are ones that say like no jeans, no sweatpants, no baggy shorts. And it's like, it's one of those where if you think it's close to being baggy, probably should find something else to be safe. Because again, like the problem with disc golf right now is there's very little. Holy cow. There's very little the Pro Tour. I don't know. It sounds like someone just broke glass, but there's very little the Pro Tour can really do to like enforce stuff, right? Because like, for example, what Nico did, that whole debacle and the suspension and all that stuff, had he just, let's just say had he just turned to the official and just gave him like the 2 middle fingers. Like, I don't think giving the 2 middle fingers to an official is worthy of a suspension. Mm-hmm. Like to the point where you can't play the next tournament, but like you probably should get fined. But then the problem with getting fined is like, like you can't fine someone into poverty.
Yeah.
So that's where it's like someone shows up in baggy shorts. The easiest thing to do is just to let that person play and then they get fined.
Yeah.
But then, like that's the hard thing with the Pro Tour is like trying to figure out how do you fine someone.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough line. All right, I believe Dustin was the next one. So Dustin, feel free to unmute yourself, and yeah, whenever you're ready.
Well, I'm back, Hunter. We talked the Las Vegas Challenge, I think, and I do have an actual debate topic. May not be the debate of the century, but Gannon Burr still having a better season than Ricky Wysocki. We'll see you later.
Ooh,
Fascinating. What makes you say that?
Ricky still not showing up at the major tournaments. Still not a USDGC win. Gannon Burr probably still has more money than Ricky Wysocki, even though he has more points.
money's not a great one. Money's not a great one just because, like, the amount of money you win at certain tournaments doesn't necessarily always equate to the strength of the field, right? So,
Yeah.
right, for what it is, like, it's tough to just be like, he's won more money on tour than the other guy. He just might have gotten hot at certain tournaments that are better. Now, I will agree with majors, right? Like majors, because this is my point on the money. 99.9% of the time, we don't even know what the payouts are going to be until like Saturday. So like Saturday of the tournament, right? So you can't really say money because that it doesn't really come into play. Now, majors, we're all going into a major knowing that this means more and it's more important. So that pressure is all there. So I agree with you on that, on, Gannon showing up to the majors more than maybe Ricky did this year. But I was just going to say the money thing's tough because it's like, yeah, sure. Going into a tournament, knowing that if you win, it's going to be the highest payout in disc golf history, that probably would come into play a little bit. But like, we don't know what the payouts are going to be until literally like going into the final day.
But
I
if
think
Ricky,
I think Gannon showing up at the majors more is a little bit of a false narrative because Gannon won one, but Ricky beat him at the other two that they both showed up to.
Oh.
Ricky's also 11-6 against Gannon with 4 wins. Gannon only has 1 win on the season unless you count a Silver Series. Ricky also has 76% top 10 percentage and threw the disc 30 less times than Gannon in the events they played against each other.
So shouldn't he be beating him at every event?
Wait, what's Gannon's top 10 percentage?
Top 10 percentage, 70%. Ricky's 76.
Oh, interesting. I thought Gannon would have been higher than Ricky.
No. Ricky beats Gannon in every single position except for Gannon's finished in third one more time than Rick, but that's probably a tournament Rick won. So.
Yeah, Las Vegas and that one.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, Ricky probably definitely had more. Like, when Gannon was finishing outside the top 10, he probably wasn't finishing outside the top 10 by much, where Ricky did have maybe 1 or 2 tournaments where he just didn't show up at all. I know Des Moines, he was pretty far down the leaderboard. I don't know if that might have been the only one, though, actually. He might have only had one stinker of a tournament this year. It'd be hard for me, as much as Gannon has, picked up a lot of momentum here, it would be hard for me to say that Gannon had a better season than Ricky. And the way the Tour Championship is currently set up, I don't even think you can really put that into play. So, like, if Gannon ends up winning the Tour Championship, I don't think you can use that. Whoever wins the Tour Championship, I don't think you can really use that as an indicator of, like, oh, this person had an incredible season.
No, absolutely not.
Because it's just based on the day, the win. There's like so many factors that go into it. It's not everybody playing the exact same day.
I can tell you this right now. If I would have won the Tour Championship this week, people would have been like, for sure, oh, it's a fluky tournament, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you just the way it's set up is like you just barely have to get by. Now, the way Nathan Queen won it last year, it's hard to deny that because he would have won the tournament by like 3 or 4 strokes, I think, something like that. Now, obviously, not all the top guys played all 4 rounds, but he shot the lowest of people playing all 4 rounds, and then obviously shot the lowest of basically had the hot round every time. So tough to like deny that, but you could essentially have someone like a Nicklaus, for example, right? Like Nicklaus was the last one in today at 5 under, like. Bradley Williams, I think, shot 7 or something. But like Nicklaus could just, again, barely scratch by tomorrow, barely scratch by on Saturday and then pop off on Sunday and win it. So just the way the format is set up, it's very similar to kind of to like March Madness in college basketball, of where you're not always going to be crowning the best team that year, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Like just the chaos of the tournament is incredible, but there's a lot of times where the best team does not end up winning the national championship. That's just the way it goes. It's, you know, you have to perform and you have to make it happen when it counts at the end. So yeah.
And then one last closing also would on the kind of the dress code. Would you rather get beat by somebody in like baggy clothes, just kind of whatever, or somebody that's looking real professional, like in your opinion, I guess, Brodie?
Well, I don't like the baggy clothes look. I don't think that's a good look.
But wouldn't it be more discouraging to be like, oh yeah, I just lost by 4 strokes to this guy whose pants are down?
For sure. If someone looks like they just rolled out of a dumpster and they beat me by 4, it's going to be a little bit more heartbreaking. Someone that, is
that would be amazing.
Rest to the nines, but I don't like losing regardless. So I don't like either.
Right. Cheers, guys.
Appreciate it, brother.
Appreciate it. I just realized that the first guy that came on, I believe his name was Zachers. I forget who the first guy that came on, but instead of removing him from speakers, I removed him from the whole show. So hopefully I didn't ban him, but possibly. So if you're listening to this later, I didn't mean to ban you if I did. Bobby, you're up next. Feel free to mute yourself whenever you're ready.
It's been a while since we've done this, Hunter. It's okay.
Yeah, I know.
You guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it does sound like you're in a cathedral, but yes.
All right, sorry about that. So I disagree about the dress code stuff. We'll actually have a debate. How about that? So I replied, I remember on Twitter, I don't know, later last week or whatever, someone said, you look like a bum when you're dressed. And then I replied about like the 10,000 thing, and you sent a tennis, what about 100,000?
Yeah, that was a pretty lie to me with the guy wearing a sleeveless shirt.
No, it's all right. I guess my point was like, I don't think you look like a bum, but I definitely think you could, like, that look isn't as professional.
Can anybody else not hear Bobby?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Bobby.
I can hear
me. Oh, okay.
Terry,
so
can you not hear him?
Yeah, I just hear Hunter and Brodie. That's it.
What?
I didn't know if that was anybody else.
Does anyone else hear?
I can hear Bobby.
Okay. Terry, maybe you might have muted Bobby. You might have to manually unmute him yourself.
My mistake.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry, Bobby.
No, that's all right. I guess my point was I didn't think you looked like a bum. Like a bum is somebody in a wife beater and a spaghetti stain on their shirt or something like that. I mean, I just didn't think the athletic shorts and just a dry fit t-shirt looks as professional as the sport could be. So I guess the bigger question about it and the position that I was going to take was, what's the goal? Like, what's the goal with a dress code for the disc golf tour and disc golf in general? And if the goal is one of the goals, and there's lots of goals, right? And everything's in context, but lots of goals are, if we want more money, more sponsorship, the sport to grow, and at the professional level, what is our expectation or standard that we want to display the sport as? And I think the way you dress, like you made the comment, everybody hated the way I looked when I first started the tour, with the pants and the shirt. I think that you were bringing everybody's game up by dressing that way, personally.
I would still dress that way if it wasn't incredibly uncomfortable.
Okay, so here's where I'll go. One, I think that I don't like the crew t-shirt look. I think a collar, and I'll preface all this. All this is for guys, not girls. Everything I'm going to be saying is for dudes' dress code. I'm not a woman, never worn women's clothes. I have no opinion on that. Don't think I have any authority to speak on that. So for dudes though, I think a collared shirt, and it can be dry fit, it could be whatever material, but a collared shirt, and then non-basketball looking shorts. I think better looking shorts. I think just that look itself in general just has that extra look of professionalism that markets the sport a little bit better than someone who looks like they came from a pros versus Joes, event and was picked out of the stands and put on a tee box.
I mean, I guess at the end of the day, what you view as professional, I feel like you then would view a lot of sports as the way
No, context matters. Context matters. I mean, like tennis versus disc golf, those are two completely different athletic events. And I know you like it to like a hike in the woods.
Moving, because of like the running around?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I think that's very different as far as the level of athleticism and demand.
The movement, the body movement in a backhand and the body movement in a forehand are almost identical between tennis.
I mean, as far as the movement of a joint, sure, but the equation of the amount of effort, sweat, timing, endurance that disc golf has versus tennis there's no comparison there. I mean, also to it like a hike in the woods. I mean, I don't know hikers in the woods that stop every 300 feet and then evaluate something and then do their one motion. You're only doing 50, 60 motions throughout the whole event,
I bring the hike in the woods because essentially if I was not throwing a disc today and I just walked, if I literally did everything the same exact that I did today and did not throw a disc, I would have gone on it would have been like a 2.5, 3 mile hike or something.
And there'd be no reason not to have pants on if you wanted to.
There would be no reason. But also if someone's like, hey, let's go on a 3 mile hike, the last thing I'm thinking about is putting on my golf pants and a polo.
Sure. That's fine. But it's also a hike is different than a professional event. Right.
But
so that's why the context matters.
Activity that we're doing in a hike, like when you go golfing, right? When you go golfing, the dress code at most country clubs and even most public courses is almost identical to what you see on the pro tour. When you go play tennis, you're not wearing different outfits when you go practice as what you would be playing in on tour or on like the ATP tour or whatever. If I go to like a random
context though.
If I go to like a random country club, what
I'm saying is context matters. The sport,
give me another sport where the professionals dress completely different than the hobbyists or fans of the sport when they do the activity.
Softball. Professional softball players or softball players in the United States compete for the United States of America in the Olympics will have a full-on jersey, then a beer league softball, same event at my local high school.
I feel like you should have said baseball because I feel like I've seen a lot of professional softball clips and they look like they're wearing like almost AND1 style uniforms.
But they're wearing full-length pants. They have a sponsorship jersey. They're not wearing athletic shorts and the same thing that I would wear in a beer league softball event. That's the exact same sport, but different leagues, different context. That's why I'm saying context matters. Where this is, we need to focus on, you're at the professional level.
I think baseball would have been a better example because baseball players wear ridiculous things. Compared to like what you would see someone wearing in like a pickup baseball game, I guess you could say.
Well, okay. Well, what I'm saying is the context of this discussion is professional disc golf. What should it be?
Sure.
Right? That's the context. And at the professional disc golf level, where we're at the growing of the sport level.
What happened? Sorry, I was just going to say real quick, like what is the reasoning? What is the reasoning to you, or what do you think happens if you take all the people that are currently dressing like a professional tennis player and you have them dress like a professional golfer? What changes?
I think marketability. Whether we like it or not, the people with money will look at things and pass judgment. whether it's true or right or wrong, whatever.
So golf.
If I were to look at disc golf and I have money and someone says, I think you should invest in this, and I look at it and I say, either they look like someone else hit a bunch of bums, which I disagree with, but look like just average people who are at a park and playing an event versus people who are stepped up just even a little bit more. I'm not saying, my position also isn't that you should be wearing pants. Full on pants.
You want people to wear like big germ stuff, golf shorts, and
that's closer. Yeah,
a hot dog polo.
That's his style, though. That's where personal freedom style.
Or Joel Freeman with his pants and strawberries all over his shirt. That's a polo.
If that's what I'm saying is for men, a collared shirt. And either if they're wearing shorts, that they can't be like basketball shorts that you pick up for a pickup basketball game.
Can I add? Am I allowed to add something to this?
Yeah. Come on in, Dylan.
I guess I have a couple arguments to that. I mean, you're saying that tennis and disc golf aren't really alike, but I mean, there's very similar movements. Yeah, tennis has a lot more consistent movements, but they're very similar to disc golf. And you're marketability you're talking about as well. I think the dress code, at what point does the dress code take away from the performance as well? So if you
that's a great point. Fantastic points. One, tennis, when it comes to the tennis thing, yes, you have a similar, just if you isolate the motion, there's similar motions. But what I'm saying is the context of the sport, the amount of athleticism, the endurance, the amount of effort that's put in is nowhere near what we're looking at for disc golf. And that's why I'm not saying disc golf needs to wear jeans or khakis and long sleeve shirt. I'm not saying that either, right? To your other point of when does it take it away from their away from their
performance,
their performance and stuff? It never should, right? There are a current set of rules, and you playing within those rules is just fine. You doing everything that makes you still at the level where you feel comfortable to compete needs to be a part of that decision-making process. Because at the end of the day, you guys are competing, and if you make a certain rule that says that's going to restrict half the field of feeling like they're able to perform at the top of their game, that shouldn't be considered either. But if someone tells me a collared shirt is what's going to do that, I'm going to disagree with that vantage point, right? At the end of the day, someone will have to make a decision. And of what the next step is for disc golf as far as overall look. I'm not looking for a huge jump.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
I guess for me, where I differ is there is a way to look well put together and professional that doesn't require you to dress like golf. Because
yes, I don't think you need to wear pants either.
I'm not even saying pants. I'm not even saying pants. Who cares about pants? I'm even talking about the polo shirt.
If I'm looking at your Great Lakes Open,
is it more like a matching outfit?
No, not a matching outfit.
Matching outfit does matter though. If that's what Terry said. I think matching outfit almost matters more than if
you could talk about distracting elements too. That has to be a part of the conversation. But what I'm saying is what you wore at a t-shirt. Even a dry fit shirt that
it's a dry fit
is
jersey.
A crew neck, right? I don't like those dry fit jerseys. I don't think they look professional enough.
So when you watch tennis,
look like
when you watch tennis, you don't think they look professional?
No, because the context matters. You're taking out of the context.
I think I got to side with Bobby a little bit here because Bobby made a point, and I think that there's a different parallel that we're skipping over that some people may have noticed, some people may not have, which is pickleball has been blowing up like crazy recently. All kinds of pro athletes are out of nowhere buying pickleball teams. There's a lot of money being thrown into pickleball when a mere 2 years ago, pickleball and disc golf might have edged it out. We were both growing at very similar rates pre-COVID. And if you take a step back and you say, what the heck happened? How did pickleball get all this money and disc golf's sitting back slightly? The difference is pickleball is an old person sport. It's a country club sport. And there's a lot of money being brought into pickleball because of the people playing it. And with that does come a certain perception. And I do think that if you take the tennis player outside of the tennis arena, they do look less professional. If you take a tennis player and put them on a golf course, they wouldn't be welcome to a certain extent. And I think that when you take that with the disc golf, we do have to factor in performance, but you also have to factor in how much can you actually regulate what a player is wearing. And when you just leave it to athletic shorts and dry fits where it's at now, that will not, like, you can't regulate that down enough.
Why did you bring up pickleball?
Because I'm saying the type, like pickleball, the reason it's advancing so much farther than disc golf right now, getting all these big endorsements, stuff like that, is because of where it's played at and because of how it's being perceived. It's being perceived as this like country club like sport that can't have money thrown at it. I'm not saying disc golf needs to be a country club sport by any means, but saying,
what does that have to do with anything with dress code? They literally dress the same way as tennis players.
No. That's a huge thing with dress code because Bobby is right when it comes to context. When you put pickleball onto a tennis court, then what the player is wearing in that context matters. When you're in just a normal park and you're in shorts and a t-shirt, you look a lot different than you're on a tennis court in shorts and a t-shirt. That's what he's saying is the context around that. I fully agree with that statement. I think that matters drastically. I think if you pull Rafael Nadal and you put him on a golf course and he's wearing a neon dry fit and bright blue pants with a sweatband, he looks ridiculous on a golf course. But in the tennis arena at Wimbledon, he looks very professional and put together because of where he's at. Just like
amateur and professional context matters. Exactly. Amateur and professional context matters. Location matters. What you're trying to accomplish, whether you're professional or not matters. The sport, the endurance, all those things go into the dress code. And I'm not saying wear something that's going to restrict you. I don't want that because I want to see athleticism. I want to see great shots. I'm not saying wear something that you're not going to enjoy. All I'm saying is I think it could look more professional. And any idea that we could get into the sport Bobby, that can help grow the sport, I think is a good idea.
Well, Bobby and Hunter, answer me this then. Yeah. If everyone in tennis started dressing in golf attire, polos and like nice golf shorts, does tennis all of a sudden does tennis look more professional?
Well, no, because the context matters.
So then why
before money came in?
No, so then time out. Why? You keep saying the context matters. What I just literally said is for tennis, they have decided that this looks professional. And like what Hunter just said
Brodie,
is when you
got a question.
Hold on. When you take a tennis player off and you put him on a golf course, we have an idea of what professional looks like on a golf course. Even though time out, there used to be all about polos. Tiger Woods came out with the first mock tee and wore, and now that looks sick. Live Golf is over there now saying that you can wear shorts. The PGA Tour just let players practice in shorts. And so eventually shorts is going to be fine, where back in the day, if you wore shorts on a golf course during a PGA Tour or during a professional event, you would look unprofessional. My question is, if you change a tennis player's outfit right now, the average tennis player, where they're wearing like something like this, where it's like a sleeveless Nike dry fit shirt and like nice Nike dry fit shorts. If you put them in golf attire, if that doesn't change how it looks professional, why have we decided as disc golf that our professional look has to be like golf? Why can't we just come up with it as what? I mean, heck,
it could have its own thing. You're absolutely right, Brodie. It doesn't need to look like ball golf. That's a good point.
Why have we decided the tennis look is not professional enough for disc golf? Why has that?
Because I just don't think it is. It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look professional enough.
I think it should match up perfectly with that.
I got a question, Brodie.
So, like,
you have more athletic movement.
I don't understand. Like, is every other sport then match up perfectly then?
Brodie, let me ask you a question.
Is there no other sport that looks unprofessional the way they dress?
Can I ask
you a question? That's a red herring.
Can I ask you a question, Brodie?
Yes.
Okay. Do tennis players on the professional level dress themselves?
Some do, for sure, yes.
But, like, is Nike sending out these people what to wear on different days?
Like the top 50 players in the world, probably don't dress themselves.
So the people on coverage are not dressing themselves?
But there's five. Well, no, I would disagree with that. There are people outside the top 100 that are on coverage all the time in tennis.
I think that is a big deal though, because
same in golf. You had literally someone in the running for the PGA Championship like a couple years ago, and they were wearing the hat they were wearing was from their local club. That guy for sure dressed himself.
But the issue
didn't have sponsors.
The issue is I think if you leave it open-ended with dry fits and shorts, There's too many options to look unprofessional. So in my opinion, what needs to happen is you need to go almost a step too far to make sure that everyone's going to look representative. Everyone's going to look presentable and professional to sponsors, to marketers, everything like that. Then once the sport has money, which is all the sports you're mentioning have all this money, then you can go backwards, like golf is doing, like tennis has done. Because tennis originally, they played in polos. If you go far enough back, they were playing in polos and golf shorts. That's how it started. Then it can work backwards once there is.
Yeah, when it was a bunch of rich people that wanted to make themselves seem better than everyone else. Yeah.
My position is
that's what golf is too. It's a bunch of rich people that have all these country clubs and want to wear these clothes and act like they're better than everyone else. Like what? Why do we want to be any that?
I'm not saying we don't want to be that. What I'm saying is it could go a step above t-shirts and basketball shorts to look a little bit more professional, to be a little bit more marketing.
Everyone, please look at this photo that I'm about to tweet out and tell me if someone wore this at disc golf, not someone, let's say everyone. We're going to say the entire disc golf community wore a variation of this outfit, maybe a different color combination, if this all of a sudden is going to make disc golf blow up.
That's not what I'm saying. You're conflating arguments.
Hold on, I'm tweeting it out. I just want to tweet out. I want everyone to take a peek at that.
Well, Brodie, answer me this. Answer me this question.
Okay, yeah, you got John Daly with the pants. I see that, yes.
If what do you think is going to make disc golf as a whole look more professional? If you leave the dress code far more open-ended, or if you ask people to wear collared shirts, golf pants, golf shorts, that type? What would in general make golf look more professional?
Again, I think it really it depends on what you think is professional or not.
Exactly.
For me, depending on what sport you're playing, if you're doing a triathlon, I'm not expecting you to wear golf attire to do a triathlon. That doesn't mean you don't look professional. And really, at the end of the day, it should, my whole thing is sure, the people that think I look like a bum, that probably hurts my image towards them. That's not helping me gain fans if some people think I look like a bum. But at the end of the day, if I'm wearing something that I think is good enough for me to win, then look at something like John Daly, for example. John Daly wore a bunch of crazy outfits, one of which I just posted.
But he still was within the dress code.
And well, yeah, what you're talking about right now is in the dress code. You're asking for the PDGA and the Disc Golf Pro Tour to change the rules. So technically what you're asking for right now is for everyone that currently is playing and all these outfits that you don't like are currently in the dress code. So
and that's fine. That's currently
you're trying to have stuff change. And I'm trying to tell you, I don't think all of a sudden just changing it and making everyone look like they're going to Sunday school is all of a sudden going to have outside marketers look at disc golf and go, hey, you know what? All these people you know what doesn't look good? You know what doesn't look good is dirt stains on your kneecaps. That's what doesn't look good. And you're probably going to get that if you're having people wear pants playing disc golf in the woods.
You're absolutely right. There's definitely no option for anyone to put a towel down on their knee before they make a throw. You're absolutely right.
That also looks kind of weird. I will be the first to say that.
But then it doesn't put dirt stains on your knees. I'm not saying you need to wear pants. All I'm saying is if everyone had a slightly higher standard where we don't have t-shirts and athletic shorts and had either a collared shirt or a nicer shirt than that's just a crew neck and athletic.
I do not want to wear a collared shirt
shirt
while I'm doing an athletic movement.
It doesn't matter. At some point, at some level, at some time, it's not going to matter what you really want to wear. It's going to matter what's better for everyone for the sport to grow.
I just don't know how all of a sudden wearing professional golf attire all of a sudden fixes all of disc golf problems. I
never said it did. You're inflating an argument.
You said outside marketers and stuff would look at disc golf and be like, that guy's wearing a polo shirt. I want to put money into disc golf.
You're changing the argument. What I'm saying is someone will look at
what perception, Hunter? No one has any perception. No one knows what disc golf is.
But when they look, if they walked into a pro tour
exactly,
event,
Hunter, what you just said makes no sense because right now, when you look at, you literally just said when you put Rafa Nadal in Wimbledon, everyone is okay with what he wears. So if everyone's wearing what Rafa Nadal is in disc golf, when someone comes to a disc golf tournament for the first time and sees everyone wearing the same exact thing like Rafa Nadal in tennis, you're going to think that is the attire that is okay to wear. What is your argument? We are the ones right now, you can control what the perception of disc golf attire is because guess what? 99.9% of the population have no idea about disc golf. So when they see disc golf for the first time, they're just assuming that is what disc golf players wear.
I would fully agree with you if everyone dressed like Rafael Nadal, but we both know that's not what happens when you let people wear dry fits and baggy shorts. We all know
some people are going to look at the people that are wearing disc golf. Well, yes. What you're saying, yes, I agree.
That's what I'm saying is we overcorrect to make the bottom average adjust up.
But I also will say, I think some people will look at the people that wear golf attire and think that's like a little much.
And it could be. It absolutely could be. But golf attire isn't shorts either, right? So what you wore.
Well, it is if you're on the lift tour. It is if you're on the lift tour.
Forget the lift tour. We're talking about this like. If what you wore like the Portland Open, right? You got shorts, you got a polo, looks absolutely fine for that level. What you wore at the Great Lakes Open, where it's a t-shirt and baggy, basically basketball shorts, doesn't look as professional as you did at the Portland Open. If someone says, hey, I have this sport, I think you should invest, and I first look, and it looks like a Pro versus Joe's event where they grabbed somebody out of the stands and threw off a tee. I don't know how interested I am if everyone, though, on that tee box has not necessarily an exact same look, but at least has a cleaner look, a slightly more polished look than just a t-shirt and shorts. All I'm saying is the t-shirt and shorts is not professional enough to help take disc golf to a little bit of a next level.
All right, two counter arguments. First one being, what do the average disc golfer wear? What does the average disc golfer wear when they go play disc golf?
Irrelevant to professional disc golf.
No. Just answer the question real quick because I'll have a point.
So I personally wear pants every time I go out and either a shirt or a collared shirt because that's what I like. I like to look good when I go out. Looking good also puts me in a better frame of mind. So when you go, I feel like is that the average? Like, so when you go to the disc golf course and you look around, is that what everyone else is wearing? Shorts and shirt. I'm in Minnesota, depending upon the weather too.
Sure, when it's cold, yes, pants, yes. Yeah. But in the summertime, when you go to the disc golf course, is everyone wearing that polos?
Shorts and a t-shirt. No, shorts and a t-shirt. Absolutely, okay. That's the average.
So if I'm a company, would I want to put let's say for example, let me think. Adidas Golf. Let's just go with Adidas Golf. Does it make sense for Adidas Golf to put players in attire that the people watching don't play in? Like Adidas Golf is trying, like golf, for example, the reason why, Hunter, when you asked that question, the reason why Nike sends outfits and stuff to their players is not just to make their players look good. It's so that people see that and go, I want to buy that polo. I think
100% disc golfer fans, when they see their favorite disc golfer say, this is a polo brand that I enjoy, this is what I'm sponsoring and what I'm repping, the next time they want to decide on their attire when they go play, and if they're super fans, they're going to say, I'm going to buy a similar polo and wear that to the next time I play in a tournament. 100%.
Wait, 100% what disc golf polo company exists right now?
Not a polo company, but the people who are sponsoring us. Kale has a line of different of sponsored polos. I know Germ has a line of sponsored polos. And fans of theirs are going to say, I love the way that looks. And when I go and play, I want to look that good too.
Do you think more people have bought Big Germ and Kale's polos or Eagle and Simon's jerseys?
Eagles. Absolutely Eagles and Simon's jerseys, but that was the standard yesterday. What should be the standard tomorrow?
My point with bringing up the people are being dressed, Brodie, was more so if Adidas, Nike, all of them were in our sport and they're sponsoring these athletes and our dress code is where it currently is at.
They
right?
dress us in tennis attire, like workout
Yeah.
slash tennis.
But I'm saying
attire.
that I'm all game for that. My whole problem, or not even a problem necessarily, my whole reason that I would side more with Bobby is because that's not happening. That's not happening in the foreseeable future. And so what you have to do is make an adjustment to the dress code that is going to make the field as a whole look more put together. And you have to think, what are things that are going to do that? And so to me, that's where we lean more towards the, have to wear a belt, because wearing a belt makes it where you have to wear some form of golf pants. Can you still look very unprofessional in a belt? Absolutely. But you're eliminating the bottom half of it, right? You're making
Immediately hate that idea.
Move forward.
Why? Why do you hate having to wear a belt?
Because I don't want to have a belt on me. One, my belt buckle got in my way every time I putted. Like literally, my
then you
putter
got the
was
wrong
going-
belt buckle. Put out a different one.
What?
Then you got the wrong belt buckle if it's getting in the way of your putt every time.
You got to at least see what I'm saying, Brodie, right? Like you got
I
to
see what you're saying, and I'm saying you're incorrect. What companies care about is numbers. That's what companies care about. How many eyeballs is viewing this? That is what companies care about. And at the end of the day,
viewers tuning in and saying, "Oh, this sport's a joke," because they see someone in and one shorts and a baggy end of a polo.
What?
I'm just saying that happened in 2015. That was a very common thing. Like when I first watched the sport,
again,
it seemed like a joke.
Here's the thing: the whole thing that we're talking about right now is the perception and the idea of what disc golf is. Because, like, for me, when I turn on a boxing match and they're coming in these outrageous outfits and whatnot, I'm thinking to myself, like, that's really weird. Like that makes no sense. But that is what's common in boxing. Same thing with like wrestling.
Difference. When they're walking into the ring and there's 50,000 people cheering, you're not going to look like an idiot. If you walked into your local park and there's 2 people next to you and you're wearing that same boxing outfit, you look like an idiot.
So you think the people at USDGC looked like idiots, even though there was 5,000 people watching them?
No, I was talking about boxing. What are you talking? What? No, boxing.
I don't get this. My whole thing is like
the people surrounding the boxer makes it look cool.
No. Like you think what people in the wrestling looks cool, like the WWF, WWE. You think their outfits look cool because there's people around them?
No, I think WWE is very stupid. I don't think anything professional about it. It's an act. It's like going to a play.
Well, they are professional wrestlers, but
debatable. They're actors.
But they're still doing stunts and still get hurt. I agree, it's fake. But my point being is like just because they're wearing just because me and you think what they're wearing is ridiculous doesn't mean people that are fans of wrestling think what they're wearing is ridiculous. They probably love it.
But did the fans of wrestling wear that?
Do they wear? Well, they don't. The fans of wrestling don't wrestle. That's like saying like base, and this goes back to the whole point. Like fans of football, fans of NFL aren't playing football, Hunter.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, what percentage? What percentage of fans that watch football play tackle football, sir?
In their backyards,
No. What percentage of fans? What percentage of the millions and millions of fans that watch football on Sunday play tackle football?
Every kid, every D1, D2, D3 college person.
What percentage do you think that is? Do you think that's 20%?
I can't give you a number.
Do you think out of the 300 million people or whatever that watch the Super Bowl, 20% of that's a lot. That's a lot of kids playing D1 football. I'm telling you right now, like those sports, like the average people that are watching baseball do not play baseball. Like the majority of people watching baseball do not play baseball. Tennis, the majority of people that watch tennis play tennis. Golf, the majority of people that watch golf play golf. We are one of those sports. Disc golf is one of those sports. Hence why tons of people don't watch live coverage because they're out playing disc golf. And that's why Jomez, Gatekeeper, GK Pro are very successful because people go out on the weekends and play disc golf. They're not at home watching disc golf, and that's the same troubles. That's the same troubles that golf has.
So what's the point you're trying to make when it comes to the equation of what a pro wears and what a fan wears?
If I'm trying to put money into the sport and I'm doing it on an attire basis, I want the pros to wear something that the fans are going to buy.
Well,
let's
take baseball. How many fans who don't play baseball will still go into the pro shop and buy the fan's jersey, buy the player's jersey?
Are they playing baseball in that?
They don't need to play baseball.
Well, it's also, hold on. A jersey is a completely different situation. A jersey is a completely different situation.
No, it's not a different situation. If I saw
you would wear big germ hot dog polo to work.
Why not?
Because people have no idea what you're doing. People know what jerseys are.
They'd ask me, and I have an opportunity then to talk to them more about disc golf and why it's cool.
The jersey argument is a completely different argument because that's like a fandom thing. No one is buying a baseball jersey. Majority of them are not buying a baseball jersey so they can go and wear it when they're playing their league baseball game. League baseball games probably all have they already probably have their own uniforms.
You're making a false premise that the only time you should buy something that's of a professional is at the same time that you would be replicating that same event. That's irrelevant.
No, you buy it because you like what it looks like and you want to wear it. So I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing with you in the sense of, yes, some people are going to see Big Germ wear a polo and go, that's a cool polo. I want to buy that. I'm telling you, though, if you had a jersey like Eagle or Simon or Calvin or Kyle Klein or other people that have the jersey type of stuff, people are going to be more inclined to buy that because not only do they think it looks cool, but they go, I can also play disc golf in this. You are in the minority of people that play in polos. I'm just telling you right now. I live in Texas. I don't see anyone ever playing in polos. No one plays disc golf in polos.
Completely understand that. And I see the jersey argument. However, I guess the level that what I'm saying is the crew neck look of just a plain ass t-shirt with, apologies, I'm sorry for swearing there. A plain t-shirt with a Nike swoosh and that's it. And athletic shorts is not the level that I think a professional disc golf should at least go to. I disagree with Hunter where he says you should overcorrect. I think you could make an incremental step here just for the men's game. Just to give that a slightly more polished look all around. And that where style comes in and where look of those jerseys, maybe it's a dry fit polo where it's a collar, but it's still got that the Simon's jersey emblems and Eagles jersey emblems on it and stuff like that too. I think people are buying those.
Don't forget too, the disc golf swing is a much more of an athletic movement than a ball golf swing.
Yes, 100%. You're not running up, or you're not stretching out as far as you can to
that's why it matches up so well with the tennis outfits. A collar on the shirt completely changes the athletic ability of a disc golfer if it doesn't have a collar. There's no
but a jersey with a collar, I'll be the first to tell you, a jersey with a collar on it looks absolutely ridiculous. I might be in minority, but I think it looks absolutely ridiculous.
No, it's more about the pant.
If basketball players were running up and down the court with a collar on,
but that's basketball. Don't equate context.
Literally, the only sport that wears a polo that doesn't look ridiculous is golf, and that's country club style. Do we want disc golf to be a bunch of country club people? No. I thought we didn't. I thought that was when I first came in. That was everyone's backlash to stop trying to make disc golf like golf.
Do you think John looks country club?
Sometimes.
Do I think he looks country club by wearing golf attire on a disc golf course? Yeah.
Do you think Germ's attire looks country club?
He looks like he'd be playing golf at a resort in Florida. Yes.
Sometimes he goes the Joel Freeman route, and sometimes he does more comfortable clothing.
Yeah, he doesn't always do the polo thing. And again, I don't care if you want to wear the polos and stuff like that. That's fine. You can do whatever you want. I'm not for mandatory everyone wearing a polo, a collar. I think that looks. I think that is.
Well, you wanted a debate, Sir Brodie. You wanted somebody with a different position to you. That's what I wanted to give you. I think it could. I think that could be the next level for one incremental step for disc golf is to get rid of the crew neck t-shirt look and go to a collared look.
Okay, can I give one? I guess debating this is like not a good way to debate. Like was it called anecdotal? What is that called?
Anecdotal.
Yeah. So the only person that I'm aware of that has sponsored in some way outside of disc golf companies was Paul last year with can't remember the name. Hunter, do you remember the name? Mizzen or something? Was it?
McCade.
McKay?
With that different style of shirt where it's kind of like not
is he still currently sponsored by them?
I believe that was like a one tournament sponsorship last year. He still rocks them some, but not sponsored that I'm aware of now.
Was it a one tournament thing similar to kind of like some of the deals we do where they're like, hey, we want to test this out and see if it's something that we want to get into?
I don't know the details. I just know they dressed them for USDGC last year.
I think that looks good.
It'd be like a test, but yeah.
I think that's an acceptable shirt too. At the level what I'm saying.
My point was, and again, I've had conversations with several golf brands, and they have literally no interest in, as of right now, they have literally no interest in disc golf. And I don't think that's simply because of other people not wearing the attire or whatever. I simply think that is it's a numbers thing. There's just not enough people watching disc golf currently. I don't think more people start watching disc golf if people start having a collar on their shirt. I just don't. I think players need to get better. I think coverage needs to get better. I think there's a lot of other things that matter way more than whether or not you have a collar on your shirt. And then the second thing is I just don't think their market, the people that they're marketing to, and me and Hunter, we can tell you firsthand, it's not easy moving a $50, $60 shirt. It's not. In disc golf, it's not.
Oh, yeah.
And we did it. We probably have sold, I don't know how many, we sold a couple hundred of those jerseys with
the like blade polos.
Yeah, blade polos. We sold a couple hundred of them, but that is way harder to sell than a jersey at that same price point. It is. It is. And
how did Gomez do when they first came out with their seasonal, all different colors and different patterns? Because they were one of the first companies I've seen trying to do that.
Yeah, I just think for right now, like the price point and a lot of these things is just too high. And if you're going to spend $60 on something, I don't know if you would rather buy $60 on a polo versus $60 on a jersey. I think you're getting a lot more wear and tear on the jersey.
I think one thing that's far separates us, and I hope this always separates us from golf, is the accessibility and the ease to get the equipment. Because Trevor makes this point a lot when we talk about similar things. If I want to support someone in golf, right, and they have a line of clubs or they're rocking the signature polo, it is probably like 1/4 the cost for me to buy that polo than to buy that club. Whereas in disc golf, even if it's a cheap dry fit, you could buy 2 discs for the dry fit realistically. Yeah. And so that's something that is a great thing about disc golf. But I think that's something that is where this argument really falls apart when it comes to selling collared shirts, moving high-end clothing, is you always have that barrier of like, I personally, if I'm looking at clothing and I see a $60 polo, but I'm a disc golfer, right, and I'm buying that polo to play disc golf in, you bet your bottom dollar I'd rather have 3 or 4 shirts, because why the heck wouldn't I? So I think that is something that's always going to be an overarching problem. I think I don't want to say problem because it's not a problem. Like I said, it's a good
Derek,
problem.
can you mute yourself real quick? We're kind of hearing feedback.
I think I don't want to say it's a problem. I think it's a good thing about disc golf, but that's where my argument falls apart when you get to that, moving clothing, stuff like that. My whole argument is I think corrections like that make the sport, the professional scene, look more polished. But I'm on Team Brodie, where if everyone looked like Nadal, Federer, all of that all the time, and it was really nice fitting dry fits, really good fitting shorts, color coordinated, not necessarily matching, but outfits that went together in general, yes, dry fit shorts, shoes, that can all look very professional. I just think when you can't regulate that is my whole thing. So when you can't regulate it, then it opens up to how do you tell the difference between something that looks very professional and put together and something that looks like what I'd wear at 5th grade PE class. That's where my argument more comes from. Is I think it's very hard to regulate what Brodie's pushing, but I think if you go too far the other way, we become a stuffy, stuck-up sport.
I feel like you can regulate it though somehow, and it's not even so much like the the PDGA or the Disc Golf Pro Tour that regulates it. I think a lot of it is just like the players, once they start realizing like, hey, I need to kind of look a little more put together, right? Like that stuff matters a little bit. And right now, and how disc golf has been in the past, it's different, right? Because it's the same whole notion. It's the same whole notion of like the argument of like, I think giving high fives and stuff like that on the 18th tee box is one of the silliest things in disc golf, because I'm literally going to see you in a couple minutes when we're done with 18. And that's when I actually want to shake your hand, when we're actually completed all 18 holes, not when we've completed 17. But the reason for that is because disc golf used to be where you play bad and you just like bailed. As soon as you tapped out at 18, you bailed. You don't do that anymore on the Pro Tour. You can't. We have to all check our scores, make sure that they're verified and post them so you're not going anywhere. And I think the same thing with dress code is you could go out back in the day if you weren't on, and you see this still today. People dress differently when they're on feature card than when they're not. They do. There are some people that they'll put on their nice shirt or whatever when they're on feature card and wear whatever they want when they're not. And sure, I think you're going to start seeing less and less of that happening, because like at a course like Maple Hill, regardless of what time your tee time is, guess what? You're still in front of hundreds and hundreds of people. So gone are the days, well, at least at some tournaments like this Nevin course that we're playing out here, like obviously it's a tour championship. There's not that many people on the course. So there were fans watching every card, but a course like this, if you went out early in the morning, you probably wouldn't see any fans. But on some of these other tournaments that we have, there are fans all over the course. So if you go out and you look like a slob, like you're saying, people are going to see it. And I think that is going to be a huge thing of in the future, people not wanting to have that look. And also,
are you making my point for me then? Like if you think it's okay then for people to be thinking and put into a mindset of we should be looking a little bit more professional than looking a lot like a slob, right? If we want to err on a side, it's professional versus slob to help elevate disc golf overall. Why wouldn't we want to do that?
For sure. And like the pants, the shorts or whatever that you're talking about that I was wearing that you said were like basketball pants, those are actually like the pants that I wore for Ultimate Frisbee. So again, when I was wearing Ultimate Frisbee,
context matters.
Sure, but I'm actually going to help your point here for a second. So just 1 second. So when I'm wearing those for Ultimate Frisbee, no one questioned anything. Yeah. Now, when I'm wearing those for golf, I realize that those type of style of shorts, like the super thin, kind of almost reflective a little bit, they didn't really look that well. And obviously they have logos and stuff for my Ultimate Frisbee teams and stuff. Like it didn't really look that well. And so I ended up going out and purchasing like 4 or 5 new pair of shorts at a sports store, to where I can have like now when I wear a black shirt, I have black brown shorts that go with that, and I have blue shirts or blue shorts to go with my white shirt, and I have like stuff so I'm not like wearing ridiculous colors that don't really look that great and all that stuff. So yes, obviously there is an aspect of, and again, if you want to go out and you want to dress terribly in the sense of like, I don't know, Hunter, you were a design major, so like what are 2 colors that don't go well together?
Oh boy, don't put me on the spot like that. I mean,
Come on now.
clothing wise, I mean, if you go like navy and black, that's gonna obviously clash. Some dark brown and black, you're gonna be brutal with.
No, give me like a yellow and like lime green. Is that good or no?
I mean,
That sounds dope.
nowadays though, so many things can look good together because it's kind of trendy to be like that. But yellow and green a lot of times can look so bad together. Sure.
Okay, what about stripes and stripes? I've always heard you're not supposed to do that.
Stripes and stripes, if they're going the same direction, maybe. But if they're going opposite directions, you're gonna look brutal.
Okay, there you go. So someone shows up in striped shorts, horizontal, and a vertical striped shirt. Like that's something that they have to deal with. People thinking they don't look good. And here's the thing: at the end of the day, because regardless of what your dress code is, some people are going to dress better in what the in the eyes of the spectators, right? There are some people that are going to be like, that person dressed really well, and there's going to be some people that don't dress as well, and it's going to happen regardless of whether you have a dress code that's more, in your words, professional or not. But I think at the end of the day,
Should we leave that up to just always the players, or should the organization and the oversight in general that's saying, okay, where's the direction we want to take the sport? Also getting feedback. It's nothing of this is in a vacuum, right?
I guess
you're always getting feedback from the players. You're getting feedback.
We should wrap this up because we should wrap this up because we've been on and there's a bunch of people that want to come on.
Oh, yeah.
So no, you're fine. This was good. This was great. I guess I'll just wrap it up as this. This is an individual sport, and one of the big things with individual sports is showcasing your individual personality, your individual creative side, and all that stuff. Now, obviously, there is a line that eventually needs to be drawn of like what's okay and what's not okay. But the last thing I want to do is take that away. I think
I'm with you. I can agree with you there. I think style, flair, personal
you gotta let
expression
people show their own personality.
absolutely can show, and Germa's doing that, and others are doing. Lots of people are doing that.
And
there is a dress code. So
and I don't even think Germ looks bad. Like that's the reason why I brought up like the strawberries and the hot dogs and all that stuff is simply just because that is not the traditional thing that you would see like a golfer wear.
Oh,
so
I agree.
Like,
yeah.
I think that's fine. Like if you want to go out and you want to wear that stuff and that's your style and that's your personality, go for it. That's fine. Like there's gonna be some people that love it and there's gonna be some people that don't like it.
I think that brings flair to disc golf. I like that.
I think there's a huge oversight, and this happens a lot in like niche sports of where people try to figure out like the ultimate frisbee. The number one thing of why ultimate frisbee isn't bigger, we're not in the Olympics. Oh man, once we get in the Olympics, it's gonna blow up. You just wait. As soon as ultimate, I think that's just a common theme in a lot of niche sports is like trying to figure out why isn't it more popular? Why aren't we having more people? Like Hunter picked up pickleball. Guess what? Pickleball is pretty much like is very similar to tennis. It's another racquetball sport, which is a huge sport. And so people that play tennis are going to obviously be able to play pickleball. When you get older and you can't play tennis and you still love tennis, pickleball is super easy because you're not running around much. It's a no-brainer of why that's picking up steam. Disc golf, there is nothing like it. There isn't. Ultimate frisbee is not big. So like the one sport that we might have people coming over as they get older, ultimate frisbee, because their knees don't work, like that's not a big sport. So like we're not going to have this big explosion like pickleball did, where they're dragging millions and millions of people in because it's another option for tennis. Like disc golf is going to be a niche sport. It always will be a niche sport. It will never be. And mainly because it derives as a variation of a more superior sport in golf. And I know people are going to hate that, but it is what it is. Like golf was there first. Someone was like, hey, golf is really cool. Can we do that with a frisbee? And that's what disc golf is. And like, I love disc golf for sure, but you're never going to change the minds of hundreds of years of people looking at disc golf as just another variation of frisbee. Or as golf, sorry.
I think time will tell on that. That would be a very interesting thing to explore a few years down the road. It's an interesting point. I'd be curious to see how that changes over time. I agree with you. It's not golf. It never will be golf, right? Completely agree with you. Golf.
What was first, roller hockey or ice hockey?
I don't know. You have to tell me. Probably ice hockey.
Ice hockey?
I can't think of a roller hockey professional league, so I'm assuming the professional.
I would agree with you. Disc golf's niche. 100% agree with you.
But like
there.
that's kind of like roller hockey's not going to get bigger than ice hockey. It's just not.
I'm not saying disc golf should be bigger than golf or will ever be golf. I'm not making that prediction. I'm just asking, is there another level of niche that we could be at? And
for sure. Disc golf has
things can help, and then
disc golf has tons and tons of potential. Disc golf has tons and tons of potential for sure. I'm not on board with saying that the dress code is one of those things that is holding disc golf back. Because a lot of times the people that are wearing like the ridiculous outfits and stuff that you mention aren't even on coverage. But all right, Hunter, let's bring some other people in. I appreciate you calling in. That was the best debate we've ever had. So that was good.
Thank you for listening to me, and I've appreciated your comments and talking. And hey, if you need someone to give you an opposing view on anything, you just tweet back at me, and I'll pick the opposing view, and we'll go for it.
I like it. Appreciate it, Bobby.
All right, you guys take care. Thank you very much.
All right.
One thing before we get into any specifics, with like Natalie Ryan and other players on tour, is they are not doing anything wrong right now by any means. They are playing well within the rules. They're doing exactly what the PDGA has asked them to do, and every win that happens, every place that they take is absolutely theirs to take. And that's not on Natalie Ryan. That's not on Chloe Alice or any other players out there on tour. That's the PDGA's decision. If the PDGA has laid out these rules, these players are playing by those rules, and anyone who comes after Natalie Ryan or anyone like that, that's unacceptable, because what's she supposed to do? She's following the rules that were laid before her, and she's playing disc golf, and that's exactly what she's expected to do. Yeah, it's a tough line, because it's very easy with this topic to shift the blame to the player if you think that there is an advantage and stuff like that, when, like I said, what is Natalie Ryan supposed to do? The rules were put before her. She abided by every one of the rules, played a fair game, won fair and square, and then people come after her. That's not a fair shot. She did everything she's supposed to do. She won. That's that. She didn't steal money from anyone. She didn't do anything like that. She played the game fair and square with the rules that were put before her, and she came out.
I just think that's definitely something that needs to be at least changed and looked at, because we see all these other examples of where trans athletes compete in FPO, and it's just like not even close to how they come in there and just automatically beat people. Like, they can be 600th in the world in a male sport and then go into the female division and just dominate. And we see that repeated over and over again. So, it's somebody.
And I'm hoping disc golf can figure out what that looks like within disc golf. Because I like, things like swimming. I think that swimming made the decision that had to be made, because the things that gave players advantages in swimming are things that couldn't be changed. And is disc golf one of those sports? Possibly. I think that's what the science has to figure out. And I don't know what studies they're doing or referencing, but I think that that's why the IOC, I think, made the decision, the Olympic Committee made the decision they did, is because it needs to be sport by sport, because there's some sports that, there's just advantage that no matter what, the body build type like that, or ligament strength, different things like that do have a drastic advantage, and that's not going to change, unfortunately. And I think the toughest part is then figuring out what's next, because I think that also everyone would realize that transgender players would be at a disadvantage in MPO because of the whole process of transitioning. That's very tough on the body, and all the different pills and everything. That's an obvious disadvantage in MPO. So it's one of those things where some sports, players might not fit into either category, and that's where it's such a tough answer, because the last thing you want to do is isolate and tell a percentage of the population you're not welcome in our sport, because that's not true.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's not my opinion either. I don't think she should be banned from the sport. Let him compete. It's just what's fair for everybody in that situation, and not just them. That's all.
And that also is a tough reality too. Is there's a line that realistically you're not going to find something that's fair for everyone, depending on what the science says, obviously. But like in swimming, for instance, you're not finding something that's fair for everyone, because, like I said, there's a clear disadvantage that you don't really need to look at much science. There's a clear disadvantage for transgender players in the like MPO, the open division, competing against males with full testosterone, everything like that. There's a clear disadvantage there, so that's never going to be fair.
I don't know. I don't think it's a clear disadvantage there. I really don't.
I mean, I think that's pretty obvious, at least in my eyes. I could be wrong. I'm no scientist or doctor. That's why I try to stay out of it and let them handle, all the science behind it. But yeah.
What I was going to say two things about it. One, I think regardless of what the decision is, I think a decision needs to be made at some point, like this off season, probably going into next season. I think the fact that right now it feels like it's kind of, up in the air almost, if you will, of where they haven't really come out with concrete, like this is what it's going to be for forever, or it seems like they're still like looking into it, right?
Yeah.
I think something needs to come concrete going into the next season. The last thing I was going to say too is it's one of those situations of where if someone transitions over and doesn't win and is not cashing and nothing's happening, nothing is really being discussed, right? But what happens if 3 or 4 people transition? And this is like, obviously a lot of people are like hearsay, yada, yada, yada. But I think that's where you're going to start seeing a lot more people coming out and saying stuff. Maybe you may even have some people in the FPO division coming out. Obviously, we have seen some people come out anonymously to some of these articles, but I think that, unfortunately, I don't know if that should be like the spark to have people questioning what should happen and what shouldn't. But it will be a spark for a lot of people if you start seeing people transition over and winning.
Right.
And I think that was the same thing that happened, obviously, in what Hunter's example was with swimming. Because it was on such a big national stage, I think that's what kind of led the discussion moving forward. So there we go. All right, Hunter, let's grab a couple more. Thank you for calling in, though.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. The next one on the list was Andrew. Andrew, feel free to pop on whenever you're ready.
What's up? How y'all doing tonight?
Doing good.
Good. Love the debate. Love the passion in everybody going on tonight. I'm happy to kind of slow things down a little bit. But I was just curious. I don't listen to debate night a whole lot. But I don't know if y'all have talked about this, but just the idea of having one type of unified disc golf basket that's required to be used at every Pro Tour event.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's probably going to be in the future. I think that will be a sponsorship that the Disc Golf Pro Tour will look into, whether they create it themselves or someone pays for them to use their baskets all year.
Go ahead.
I believe
there's nothing else to be said, Hunter. That's it.
Yeah.
Can I ask what would be your preference as to which basket that would be?
I'm the worst person to ask. Ask Hunter.
My preference is the end of a disc catcher, just because that's what I've played on the most. That's what, the Southeast is full of. So that's what I'm most used to.
Cool. Awesome. Hey, thank you guys. Appreciate y'all.
Take it easy, man.
Yep.
All right. I added the next speaker. Zachary, you're next on my list.
Hey, so I have can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that Paige Pierce only has 4 world titles and technically needs 2 to become the GOAT. So back in 2015, they were playing Worlds. I forget where it was at, but Sarah had a 10-stroke lead going into the round, and got in a car crash and took par plus 4 for the first several holes. And then Paige ended up winning by 1 stroke, and she gave Sarah the difference in the payout and the trophy.
That is true. That is a valid point and a very tough situation. I remember that World, I believe, was in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh. And yeah, I mean, I'm trying to look what round that happened. I think that happened round 5. 4 or 5, yeah, because it looks like round 5, Paige gained 10 strokes back on Sarah, looking at the PDGA website, and then beat her by 2 over the next 2 rounds to pull off the win by 1. I mean, I don't think you can take the title away from Paige. She most likely would not have won, obviously. I think that's an obvious answer. But she still had to play the semis and the finals, still overcome it looks like a 2-stroke deficit or a 1-stroke deficit, overcame it with 2 strokes to beat Sarah. And, I mean, at the end of the day, in the history books, the title goes to Paige. But it is a weird situation because, yes, all signs point to Sarah Hokum would have been the 2015 world champion. Because even I think when she came back, she was still, like, bruised up. I think I remember seeing pictures of her showing up at the course with, like, a black eye back then, to where she was playing with a lot more on her mind than obviously just disc golf and winning a world championship. And she was just put in a situation where her lead that was massive was gone. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can technically take it away from Paige, but I can see the argument 100%. Appreciate it, Zachary. I think Aaron Dahl was the next one.
Let's fly through these. We can get through everyone, and then we can be done. There's like 4 people.
Aaron Dahl, it's all you.
Speed round.
Hey, guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so it already got brought up, but my contention was actually with something that was said on Grip Locked, not debate night, so I hope that's
Heck
okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so
it's all free game here.
So my only contention was, and this is about trans players in FPO, so I hope that's okay. I know it already got brought up, but I just wanted to bring up the Hunter had said that basically anybody could just play in FPO with no real evidence because they don't do hormone testing, basically, was the contention that he had made, I think, right? Does that sound fair?
It was whatever the PDGA had a published level of testing that seemed like that was the standard. But if you are a new player to the PDGA, you don't have to submit that information. It's only if you transfer from MPO, like you already have an MPO or MA1 track history and you're moving to FPO or FA1 that you're like required to submit it. So essentially creating a new PDGA bypasses all of that.
Okay. So my only thing that I wanted to bring up was just that I think that the rules does state that people can contend with some level of evidence that you aren't actually a female, and that they could dispute it, right?
Correct.
So I think just something to bring up that wasn't brought up in that was that, like, transitioning has a lot of consequences outside of disc golf that I don't think a lot of people are considering. And this is something I just never see anybody talk about. They just talk about the disc golf aspect of it and the advantages that they perceive someone might have. But I think it's pretty easy to tell if somebody was just going to go transition to go try and win a disc golf tournament. You'd be able to see how they act outside of disc golf in the real world. And if they were just walking around as a dude 99% of the time and then
I don't
faked
think that's
it.
the argument, though. I think obviously there are people that say stuff like that. Is like, oh, you're going to all of a sudden have a bunch of guys transition and play FPO to win. Like, I actually don't believe that will ever happen.
No.
I think the argument is this fair for the players that are currently playing in FPO?
Well,
I think
my big argument was more so, that wasn't necessarily an argument. It was more so the PDGA had put forth this standard and then wasn't upholding players to that standard.
Yeah, of course.
That was more my whole issue, is like they had put forth this whole thing and then weren't upholding players to it. So obviously, I don't think this would ever happen. If the money was big enough way down the road and this was never fixed, obviously it could happen. But by nature right now, someone just signing up for the PDGA could sign up for whatever they wanted and not have to prove anything and go play a tournament out of state and then come back home. And you can't contest based on looks or skill. So what do you have when just watching a disc golf round to contest? That was my whole thing, was the PDGA has these standards and they weren't enforcing them. And I think that could be a loophole, because also if it's not regular testing like we had been told was going on, then there's also a question of like, is there an advantage gained back by, not taking certain medications or something to where it's a fully legitimate everything, but now.
Yeah, that's the whole argument, right? Like, no one is debating that men have a physical advantage over women in disc golf. I don't think there's a single person out there that's debating that. The debate is, by transitioning and taking the medication and all that stuff, does that eliminate the advantage?
Correct.
That is the debate. And if the answer to that is yes, it does eliminate the advantage, then it clearly doesn't eliminate the advantage if someone doesn't take the medication, right? Or misses a couple weeks or whatever. Like, you would assume that the advantage doesn't fully come back, right? Like, again, I don't know how any of this really works, but my only thought is, like, if you have to take medication to take away the advantage, if you stop taking that medication, in my my thought process is, like, the advantage is somewhat coming back at some level. So then that's
I would clarify that it takes years of hormones and stuff to really have huge effects. It's not like you're gonna miss it for one day and you're gonna suddenly throw 25 feet farther the next day. So, like, it's definitely, it would have to be a deliberate ploy at a point. It wouldn't just be like an accidental thing that happened.
Absolutely.
But I guess the question the question. Okay, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I just think the PDGA should have everything in place with testing and regular testing, all that, to make sure that the years off of the medication or whatever doesn't happen. Because it might be years off makes it slowly come back. Again, I'm not a doctor. I don't know how fast things come back, go away, all of that. But if at some point in the future it does come back, to me, the PDGA should know what that timeline is. That's why the medical committee should exist, and they should have the regular checks to make sure that doesn't happen.
Because is it just the hormone levels? Is that what we're talking about?
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah, for the most part.
So if the PDGA deems that in order to play FPO, your hormone level has to be below this, right? And they've decided that everything else that comes with being born a male, I guess, like, that doesn't have any impact in having an advantage, and the only advantage is the hormone level, then that hormone level has to be tested at least that's what you're saying, Hunter. Like, it has to be, they have to come up with some sort of system of, like, we're going to test every quarter and make sure the hormone level is where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Because, like,
if
that's what we have to do to make it fair, then, like, you got to test
that's
it.
That's what I'm saying. You got to follow. Because, like, if the science is it's every 3 years, then sure, let's test it every 2.5 years to make sure that it's in a body. If it's every quarter, like you just said, then let's test it every quarter. That's where we got to follow the science, is make sure A, doesn't exist. B, once it doesn't exist, the advantage doesn't exist. How often do we need to recheck to make sure that advantage still doesn't exist? And we just abide by that rule, and then what's the problem? People will still have a problem, but they won't have a valid argument at all if that's all true and that all goes through. My whole thing was what the PDGA was claiming they were doing and what it seemed like was going on wasn't what was actually going on, and that was my whole problem.
Okay, and I'll just I'll give some. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'll give my final thoughts here, and then you guys can kind of close it out and move on, because I don't want to take up too much of your time. But I feel a lot better having actually talked to you, because just the impression I got from the Grip Locked episode was that you guys kind of thought maybe somebody would just be able to kind of show up to a tournament and win. And I know you guys don't after talking to you, but I think there are a lot of people that, like, genuinely believe that's happening. And I think if we could get past that, maybe people wouldn't be so mean to Natalie and stuff. I don't think that the directed targeting of a player that's following the rules is cool. So I feel a lot better having actually talked to you and, like, working that out. And I agree with everything you guys are saying, that testing should definitely be done to an extent when we can figure out what that is. And I just wanted to make sure I got to voice the fact that I don't think that that's what people are doing. Like, there's a lot of consequences that come along with transitioning.
Absolutely.
That, people get treated like crap. Look at how Natalie gets treated. And I don't think people are out there doing that. So I just wanted to be able to say that. So thanks for hearing me out.
Yeah, thanks for calling in, man. Appreciate it. Hunter, let's grab a couple more people.
Yeah.
While you're grabbing someone.
I'll say this really quick.
Go ahead.
A lot of people I have seen, obviously, there's a lot of people coming after Natalie, and I've talked about this just briefly previously. I think people that come after Natalie in this situation, either don't understand that she's following the rules to a T, or just mean people. And so all you can really do is explain, like, what was she supposed to do? These are the rules in front of her. She's abiding by every rule and she won. And then, like, the remaining people that are still coming after her, they're just mean people that you're not going to, like, you're wasting your breath trying to convince them. And so that's kind of where I
Yeah, because even at the PDGA, or heck, even at the Disc Golf Pro Tour, right? Like, if they decide that they're not going to care what the PDGA says, and they're like, we're going to have our own rules. If they come out and say, you know what, actually, the advantage of being born a male is far exceeds any medication you can take. And we need to protect the FPO division. If they come out and say that, and say this is the rules that we're putting in place, you still can't come after Natalie and get upset with what you did, because again, like you said, the rules are the rules currently. And it's a very interesting topic that I'm going to be very interested 20 years from now to look back on, because there's just so many things in life where, I don't know, heck, 20 years ago, right? Being a homosexual, just coming out and saying that 20 years ago is way different than what it's like now. And so it's going to be to see 20 years from now how we look back on, our decisions and stuff moving forward here. But all right, let's grab a couple more.
Absolutely. MD Sanchez, I believe you were next up. I'm going to just go straight through the ones. Everyone that's been added as a speaker, we'll get you rapid fire, and then we'll wrap up the show there.
Okay.
All right, long-time listener. Hey, I appreciate you guys taking me on here. Wanted to debate you guys on if disc golf needs more cuts. And maybe this is more at the Disc Golf Pro Tour level, but from a marketability perspective, I look and I browse on UDisc, and I'm looking down the leaderboard, and I'm seeing guys that are teeing off at 9:30, 10 a.m. They're so far out of the tournament. It's almost like they're wasting a lot of time here. And so I feel like in order to market disc golf better, if we cut the field to where, hey, everybody who makes the cut's in the money, all of a sudden we have less players, but more attention on those players. So taking kind of a page from ball golf, but also being able to really hyper focus and really build up the character lines, and getting the average Joe who might not know too much about disc golf, give them an opportunity to have that opportunity to see more players and not just the one focal card on postcard production. Curious as to y'all's thoughts on that.
Yeah, two things on that. One, I think again, it's kind of growing pains, right? The reason why cuts in disc golf aren't very prominent is simply because you have this idea of these people have traveled to these tournaments, and they view these tournaments more on the lines of a fun vacation. A lot of times that's how it was. Worlds is still like that. You still have, half the field that join Worlds that know they have no chance of winning or probably even cashing, but they're in the field because they want to be a part of the experience. That is slowly getting phased out with the Disc Golf Pro Tour. And I think now, we kind of talked about this on debate night with these Elite Plus events that are 4-day events that have cuts. I think those are slowly going to get more and more common, and then you're going to see it. And the second thing to that, why I think cuts are really important, is my round today, 4 people playing in a very short course. It wasn't a long course. It's a very short course. It should not take very long to play, but having 4 people play that wooded course took absolutely forever. And you have cuts. You can, instead of having foursomes go out, you can have everyone go out in threesomes. Obviously, there's going to be some people like, well, you can't do that. The PGA, whatever. The Pro Tour can decide what they want to do. And if that's a better product of where we can just go out in threesomes, the pace of play is way better. It's better for the fans and spectators watching. It's just going to be a more enjoyable experience. So I'm with you on that. I like the cuts, and it puts a little pressure on the first 2 days. So I'm all with it.
Got one final one for you guys, specific to Q school and more qualifying potential. It might be early now, but do you guys see a potential for some type of a Q school like there is in ball golf?
Once we get a full touring like field, which we don't currently have, then I think you can start looking into it. But right now, we still need like local people to fill a lot of the spots in tournaments. So once you have 140, 150 people willing to tour and go to all these events, then I think it matters, and that's the time. That's the time to start looking into it. But I'm sure they're probably already planning something, or if they're not, they should be, because we're not.
I just think it would generate so much more money when you think about it in ball golf. I know they're spending a lot of money to try and get their tour cards, but I mean, imagine every week there's a qualifying event. It cuts back on the field per se, but they're still paying a lot of money to play in the qualifiers. I think it could be an element to add cash to these tournaments and really bump up the purses.
Yeah, I think a qualifier where like one or two people get in at every event should happen. I agree with that. Just not the course that we're practicing.
Yeah, and that's exactly right, because that's exactly what happens on Corn Ferry. You know, PGA.
They go play another course. Yeah,
go play somewhere else. All right. Hey, I appreciate you guys, and definitely thank you all for this. This is great to be able to debate that with you guys.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Appreciate it, brother.
Appreciate it. All right, let's go. Quinn, you're up next. What do you got real quick?
All right, I got a question for you guys. No, I'm just kidding. I think you really debated it. So I don't want to speak for you, but you guys said that in regards to payouts and growing the sport, that you think more money needs to go to the top. I think it should be the other way, but go ahead and clarify if you have any different points.
More money should go to the bottom of the field?
Yes, that's what I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to disagree. Explain why.
Okay, so you guys when you guys were talking about this, you were talking about growing the sport. And as far as I'm thinking, more money and more people, I think you're going to get that by more money going to the bottom, because you're going to get way more players going. Let's say you have $100,000 and you're going to add it to the payout of a tournament. If you put, $75,000 toward the top, you might get more people watching, you might get people playing more intensely, but you're going to get way more people who are, borderline, maybe somewhere in Hunter's skill set, that are going to join the tour and play if you add more money to the bottom of the payouts.
No one skill set is playing on tour.
Quinn, I got a question to counter it slightly. Let's say that I'm good enough to now cash. Let's say that I'm good enough to just barely cash at pretty much every pro tour. Every once in a while I can pop in the top 20. Let's say that's my skill set. And so I'm coming like 40th place. And in your model, I'm making a decent living, and the guys ahead of me are barely making any more than me. What's my motivation to get any better and push the sport forward?
See, that's the point. I agree that participate and pay more money to watch. Go ahead.
So you're breaking up. We're having a hard time hearing you. Try again.
Yeah, part of that.
Oh, sorry about that. Is now better?
Yeah, you're good right now.
Hello. Okay, so
we can hear you.
Yeah, you may not be as motivated, but you're going to have way more people who are around your skill set being interested in playing and adding more money to the sport. Yeah, it stinks because you're not going to have many more people just motivated, and yeah, you're still going to add more money to the top. But in proportion, if you add more money to the bottom, you're going to have more people interested, more people who weren't previously putting money into the sport. You're going to add more overall.
I think you're talking two different things, Quinn. I think you're talking about growing the tour, whereas when I'm talking about growing the sport as a whole, because to me, it's more important that the top half of the field is pushing the sport to a new level, and being more exciting for me sitting at the couch at home than at home. I'm watching a tournament. I'm still watching the top 10 guys, but now the field on tour is 300 instead of 120. That doesn't change anything to me at home. What changes to me at home is the guys at the top, like this season, there's way more people fighting for those spots because there's way more money on the line, both on and off the course, because people see, hey, if I'm performing at the top level, I'm now worth $500,000 to $1 million a year to a sponsor. that's what is in my mind. I could be completely wrong. I think that's what's really changing disc golf right now is people see how much money they can win both on and off the course. And that's what's making the sport, more exciting to watch at home, which I think is in turn growing the sport as a whole versus I think your model grows the tour, but might not necessarily grow the sport.
Sure. But
are you thinking that there's people that aren't on tour that should be on tour right now?
Partially, but I think my main argument is that if you're wanting to grow the sport by it being more intense and more people watching, well, who's watching right now? People who are already playing. If you're increasing the payout of the top people, are you getting more people who don't play disc golf or don't typically watch disc golf to watch? I'd say no. I'd say
we're not.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying before you go on, like disc golf is one of those sports like tennis, like golf, where you have the people that are paying attention play. The minority of people tuning in are going to be people that are just tuning in for entertainment standpoint, right? Like you might have some people tune in for USDGC. You might have some people that tune in for Worlds at some point that don't play disc golf. Similar to like me, like I don't really play tennis anymore. I used to a lot as a kid. I don't anymore, but I'll still watch the majors. I'm not watching a random tennis tournament during the week. I'm just not going to do that. And I think as disc golf gets bigger and bigger and bigger, you are going to have some people that are like, oh, yeah, I used to play disc golf as a kid. It was a lot of fun. The World Championship is on. Let me watch that. But the sport is going to grow as more people play disc golf. Like that's just how that's just how a lot of these niche sports are. Like,
yeah, but don't
people that watch them play the sport.
Don't you think you'll get more people playing if, there's people who are talented, but they're like, oh, I can actually like go in tournaments and play and make some money. Whereas now it's like a lot of the average players or maybe those borderline players, they're not even paying attention because there's no point in them trying to make a big tournament if they're not going to make any money.
Well, I think they realize they're not good enough to make any money.
Okay.
Like, well, I'm just saying. You're saying that there's local people that play and win like local tournaments, and they're not going on tour.
Yeah.
Because they feel like they can't make enough money.
Yes.
Well, they're not good enough. Would be my argument.
I'm just saying that more people who are in the lower skill level, if you're trying to grow the sport, get more money,
that doesn't help the tour though. Having more bad players on tour,
right? But
they're not even gonna get into an event. It's hard getting into events now. As far as skill level goes.
But you're gonna have, let's say, 1,000 more people might try and get on who are in that borderline skill level. You're gonna have that many more people playing, so there's still gonna be people who are gonna get in. You're just gonna have a lot more volume of people versus quantity or quality.
I think I'm trying to understand your argument. I think there are a lot of people right now that want to play on tour, but they're not good enough. And so they're practicing and they're doing what they can to eventually get on tour.
I'm just saying more people who are able to get on tour and participate is going to bring more eyeballs to the sport because of those people who are playing, people they know, people who are just playing local courses. They're going to be more interested. They're going to put more money into the sport.
They're not going to be on coverage though. You're not going to see them.
Right. But you're getting more people who are then interested in just watching and putting money into the sport overall.
I guess I'm not really understanding. I don't know how like a local pro joining some tour event is going to make a huge difference.
I'm just saying, like, it doesn't even have to be local pros, but like people who are in those lower skill tiers are going to be participating more, adding more money because they realize, oh, it's more viable for me to make a living. So you're going to have a lot more people on the lower end.
But those people aren't going to be cashing. So even if you put more money at the bottom, they're not even going to get to that money.
Well, you're going to have a lot more people trying, though.
There are a lot of people trying right now, though. There was like 200 people that just try to qualify for USDGC.
Okay, but I'm saying if you wanted to add $50,000 to USDGC, are you going to add it all to the top, or if you get more people or add it to the bottom.
No. It spreads out. It spreads out.
Yeah. I'm just saying proportionally, if you add more to the bottom, you're going to get a lot more interest in terms of volume of people. And
see, I guess we're just going to agree to disagree on that.
Okay.
I don't know how far we can go with that, but
appreciate
it's an interesting point. It's an interesting point, but we appreciate you calling in.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one. All right. Looks like we got 3 more.
I don't know what just happened, Hunter. I don't know what just happened.
I don't quite know either.
I was trying to understand what was going on. All I got was like, if 40th place instead of getting $500 gets $1,000, you're gonna get more people to play. It's like those people can't get in the tournament.
I think maybe he didn't know the tour field's like full every event. Maybe I don't know. Let's see. Feng Wu ETH, you're up.
Hey guys.
I tried my best. All right, let's hear it.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me on. So I joined like halfway through, so apologies if like this already covered.
No, you're good, man.
All right, cool. So I want to talk about coverage and like how Disc Golf Network monetizes coverage and puts it behind a paywall. I think it's a terrible idea. I think it's hurting the sport. Like the fact that Gannon Burr, arguably, made history by being the youngest player to win USDGC, and like nobody saw that. That's just, I think that's just a tragedy.
Over like probably 40,000 people saw it, probably.
Yeah, which is not a lot, right? So like I would argue that a substantial amount of people who follow disc golf and game.
Like Jomez gets probably.
Exactly. I think Jomez brings more people into the sport than live coverage does, and the fact that the post coverage is also, behind a paywall, right? It's 30 days afterwards. It just loses all the hype and excitement around the tournament.
Well, here's a very interesting thing. What's another sport that you watch post? Like after the fact, not live. What's another sporting event that you don't watch live?
There's sometimes I follow esports. There's sometimes where I watch the esports tournaments afterwards.
Yeah, esports is actually a good one. That is a good one. I think that's a very interesting thing that disc golf has that the majority of other sports don't have. I don't know, Hunter, like you let me know if you have ever done this. I don't think I've ever gone on YouTube and like watched an entire old NBA game or entire NCAA game or
we're talking
even golf.
Old.
What's that?
I back to like watch Michael Jordan, but that's
highlights or like a full game broadcast.
I feel like I've watched like maybe his flu game. I feel like I've watched that through, but I wasn't born to watch it live.
It's just like it's just a very unique thing to disc golf. I was talking to Jonathan from Jomez too about it, of how like it's just so unique to disc golf, unlike any other. Most of the other sports that are on TV and stuff, like people watch them live, and if they don't catch them live, they see a highlight package or something like that. That's how they digest it. They don't go back and watch the 4-hour broadcast. Now, I don't know why that is with disc golf. I honestly don't. I have a really hard time grasping why people love going back and watching 2018 GMC. I don't know. To me, it doesn't make any sense. The only time I ever go back and watch coverage is to study it, as far as like what shots, like I normally will go back and watch the previous year before a tournament to see what shots they're throwing, what lines they're throwing. And that's just like a study thing. I would never do that. Like, for example, what was the tournament, the Silver Series in like Pittsburgh or whatever? What was that?
Butler County,
yeah. Never going to watch that. Never going to watch it because I'm not playing that tournament. So there's no reason. Now, I don't know if I'm in the minority. I think I am. I think most disc golfers love going back and watching old coverage of stuff. And again, I do not know why that happens in disc golf and not in other sports. It is a mystery, but
here's my take, right?
What?
I think disc golf is better post than live, and maybe this is my crazy take, but like I feel like when people watch disc golf, they appreciate like the craft of disc golf, throwing the disc, picking lines, just like throwing good shots, right?
Do you think
On
it's
live
better?
coverage,
Do you think Jomez Pro's coverage is better than live coverage of an NFL game or an NBA game?
the production quality is not. No, I wouldn't say so. No, it's a
So do
different
you
sport
think
though.
if? So do you think if? No. Yeah, my point was, do you think as live gets better and better and better? Because clearly what Jomez is doing is not better than what other live productions are doing, right? So if the disc golf network continues to get better and better and better to where they get closer to a PGA broadcast or to an NFL game broadcast, and because I agree with you in the sense of like, yes, sometimes the broadcast misses stuff or switches to a camera angle at the wrong time, where Jomez has six, gatekeeper, all these people have like the six cameras going all at once and they can go and see what the best shot is, when to change, all that. So you're going to get a better product in the sense of like watching the shots. The only thing you're missing, which is kind of the key point, is like it's a live sport. And like one of the big things with live sports, I think, is the interaction with other fans. And you're never going to get that with watching something on Monday.
Well, also the drama that builds from other cards. I mean,
that's huge.
Far back, Maple Hill, Simon Lizotte won off the chase card and it was absolutely electric because on live you're watching Simon come down the stretch, then you're watching Linus Carlson and Corey Ellis come down that same stretch behind him, and you're getting the full story because it wasn't only Simon. I think at a time Paul was in the tournament, different players were in the tournament, and you're getting this full story across three cards that post just isn't going to do. And so to me, I think that live disc golf gets a worse rep than if live disc golf was the quality it is right now and had the amount of coverage it is right now, 5 years ago. I think we don't have the same conversation. I think the issue was live coverage and post-produced coverage were the same thing for so long. Live was just a 4-hour version of it. And it's like, why do I want to watch that when I can watch 30 minutes on Monday? Versus now, they're two completely different things. Jomez, Gatekeeper, they're almost more like a highlight package of one card, and live is the whole event. I think that's
what's going to happen when that happens more often of like someone on chase card winning. Then Jomez, that's going to be tough for Jomez, right?
So when you watch Jomez Worlds coverage, right, they're able to weave in storylines from chase cards, right? So not like post coverage ignores chase cards. I think you can still tell the storylines. Like my issue with live,
but the timing is so quick. It's so. I mean, you're getting the cliff notes, right?
And
like you're not
story that they already know the ending to. Whereas when you're watching it, like for instance, Maple Hill, why would I tell a story of a guy who puts on this insane run through 7 holes, then blows up on 8, 9, and 10, and is irrelevant by hole 11? Versus live, that's a big drama factor. If a guy on chase card, now he has a 4-stroke lead through 7 holes, and then he blows up, there's all this drama that it's completely worthless to post-produce because it doesn't have anything to the end of the story. They've already seen the story. And I think that's post-produce, I think, is great for growing the sport, like your original argument and stuff like that, because there is a chance of Jomez ending up on the trending page. It's happened before. Yeah, and there is a chance of, people stumbling upon Jomez coverage. That's how some people get into the sport. And I think it's a good gatekeeper into the sport. But I think live disc golf, like sports are meant to be consumed live because these things happen and Twitter blows up, our Discord blows up, Facebook blows up, Instagram blows up. And you can tell the shift in disc golf's happening because no longer are all these posts being flooded with comments saying, spoiler, 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 what the heck, you ruined it for me. I don't know the last, I've seen maybe like 2 spoiler comments in the last like 4 events.
I'm hoping a big breakthrough happens next year because I think right now you still have a lot of people that are hesitant to spend the money to watch live. I'm hoping they start, obviously they have the free stuff on Sunday, but I'm hoping they start offering 30 minutes free on Thursday, right? And so you can just see, like, what is it like watching Thursday and getting a little bit more? Because obviously I get it. Like, the highlight package, like, is never going to go away for some people because some people just don't have the time, right? But at the same token, like there are going to be some people that I don't know. It's one that I've never really quite understood, because is the majority of people that consume, because it's hard to take Jomez numbers for what they are, because the videos are so long, right? To where you do have some, and also people go back and watch them over and over again. So it's hard to say like, well, Jomez gets 200,000 people. It's like, well, out of those 200,000 people, like how many are actually unique users? I think live is getting closer and closer. I think it is. I think before, when I first came into the sport, like it was not even close at all. I want to say Waco, they told me that I think they doubled their subscription at Waco. So like I think before Waco was like 2,000 or something, and then after Waco was like 4 or 5. And now it's like a lot bigger than that. But we'll see. Live also, I think live also you have way more chances of adding in commercials, monetization, activations, all that stuff. And like I said, to me, watching live sports, it's not even close, because I love having that interaction. I mean, like right now as we're doing this, there's a football game going on, and there are thousands, if not tens of thousands of people probably just on Twitter alone tweeting about this football game.
Yeah.
And you can have that interaction. And if you ever have gone into our Discord during a tournament and go into like the live tournament feed, it's incredible. Or when you guys did the live watching of Worlds.
Yeah.
Like all that stuff is just so much more fun than being like, hey, we're going to watch, what happened on Sunday, on Wednesday. Come join us. It's just, it loses a little power. So
I see what you're saying with it being fully behind a paywall like USCGC. I definitely think that's not the model we should be using for all events. But I really appreciate you calling in.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you. I think too, it's just one of those, we'll eventually get to the point of where when the sponsor money starts coming in more and more and more, it doesn't necessarily have to be behind a paywall. But for like right now, for what it is, it's the same thing as like, it's just how the way they make money. I don't know. It's how it works.
All right, James, Biloxi James, it's all you.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Brodie, going into the off season, I know you got a new contract with hopefully Discraft coming up soon. Would you agree that even though you may not be a top 3 player at Discraft, you are definitely top 3 with the Dark Horse brand in far as merchandise sales?
I mean, I have no idea. Discraft knows.
Behind Paul and Paige. Paul, Paige, Dark Horse.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't get other people's numbers. So I know how much product I move. I know how many discs people buy and all that stuff. I have no idea other people's numbers. Discraft knows that. I will say, and I've always said this, the one thing that is so difficult, and it unfortunately it is what it is right now, is like, if you want to support me, right, and have money go to me, you buy a Get Freaky Zone for $22, $23. Some people sell them for $25, right? There are zones out there that you can buy that are $14. I mean, us right now in Foundation Disc, we have zones that you can buy for, I think, $14.99.
Yeah.
Something like that. $17.99, right?
All the above.
And so, like, essentially, I'm competing against a product that essentially is the same. Obviously, the Crystal Flex, I personally think, is the best disc for approaching. Other people will disagree and say they like the ESP or whatever it is. But, like, that's where it's kind of tricky of, if I had my own disc, right, like my own mold of where if you like this disc and you want this disc, like you have to buy this disc. There's no other option. That's just a completely different ball game. And you see some people have that, right? Like James Conrad has that with the was it the MB? I think he has
the Nomad.
Nomad. Simon's got. Did he have the tilt? Or was that Eagle?
Simon had the tilt. Yeah.
But he has the Sky God. The Cloud Brit. Like, there's a bunch of other people that have those discs. It's just very, very difficult when it's set up like that. And I've talked to Discraft about this, and they know, and I've been very vocal about that. Of it should show something that if you can move a lot of discs when the only difference really is your logos on them, and there's options out there for cheaper.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna get out. Good luck next season, and in the off season, practice them C2s and eliminate them shanks, brother. See you next year.
I need a lot of work this off season. I can go down. Hunter knows I can go down that disc rabbit hole. Just a very interesting. That's another one that, like, 20 years from now, I want to look back. I want to look back and see how sponsorships and all that stuff look 20 years in disc golf, and be like, oh man, either it's exactly the same, or wow, we came really far away from what we were doing.
Yeah, that'll be fascinating. All right.
Because you can't. Well, hold on one second.
No, yeah.
The way that they're going right now eventually is going to reach a point where it's impossible, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
I mean, they'll come to a decision point because
Gannon Burr's a name, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't a name last year.
Yeah.
James Conrad's still a name.
Yeah.
Even though he didn't really do as much this year as he did last year, right? So what I'm saying is there are more people that are becoming names. There are more people that fans are becoming a fan of. At what point do you have 20 people on you sponsor 20 people? At what point are you cannibalizing disc sales, essentially? Because you have this was something, I don't know if you guys ever brought this up, but I think Latitude did this, right? Where they had multiple Tour Series discs with people's names. Have you seen that? They have 4 people on the ride.
Yeah, they do.
I don't know if you ever talked about that.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever talked about that, but does there come a point of where there's just too many people that are sponsored to where the way that they currently have it structured is just doesn't work?
Yeah, no, it definitely could get to that point.
All right, next one.
All right, Cameron, it's all you.
Greetings, gentlemen. Thank you for having me. Real quick, rapid fire. I know it's getting late. I believe when it comes to live coverage and the Disc Golf Pro Tour, that every other live event, the FPO and the MPO fields should be flip-flopped for tee times. Real quick, my reasoning for that. I live on the East Coast. It's 9:30 every single time to see the FPO play. I believe if it's flipped, and it's going to be 6:30 for the West Coast. So really, the West Coasters, I would think, don't get really a chance to see the FPO play.
Yeah.
If they flip-flop, the MPO starts at the same time they normally do, but the lead card, since MPO has a bigger field, probably won't start till, I don't know, 11:30, whereas that's, now 8:30 for the West Coasters. They would be able to see that, and then FPO on the East Coast would start a little bit later. So just something I think could get a little bit more coverage for the FPO players, and maybe even the FPO player or the MPO players.
It's definitely.
Why did it go back and forth? It's gone back and forth. Why did it go? Why did it change?
I don't know. This year. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I would say the issue they have ran into in the past. So previously, what was going on was.
Oh, it's because everyone just tunes off.
Well, it was covered. It was a dual coverage. So they were doing 9 hole, 9 hole, 9 hole. So it was 9 holes of just MPO, 9 holes of combined coverage of MPO and FPO, 9 holes of just.
No,
whatever.
Prior to that, I think FPO was at the end.
But it was all one stream. But what I'm saying, the issue I think they'd run into is right now what happens is FPO, the whole field can go off, and then their round start. They can do the whole FPO round before and still have an hour before MPO lead card tees off. If MPO lead card if MPO teed off first, then there's not enough gap before FPO starts to where they'd have to do the combined stream again, and the combined stream was a nightmare. I'm very glad they went away from that. I remember that was a whole big talking point. Everyone thought it was growing FPO, and my take,
it was terrible.
Right, was that it was hurting FPO because it was making it was a toxic chat if you were ever in it. It was brutal.
Right. Well, I mean, as far as this year goes, I mean, I've watched the most live coverage I've ever watched this year, and every single time it's FPO at 9:30 Eastern. You know, I'm just looking at like, hey, you know, if I was a West Coaster, I wanted to watch FPO because I mean, I like watching FPO. You know.
Yeah.
So what about the people in the West Coast who like watching that? Do they have to wake up at 6:30 to watch, you know, Kat and Paige and Sarah and Kristen? Like,
no, it's definitely not ideal.
I remember mornings I would wake up at like 3 or 4 o'clock to watch the Tour de France. Like, I think, unfortunately, what Hunter just said is probably the main reason, because they saw really, really bad feedback when they had the combined streams. And
well, don't you think that would change now, though, that DGN is getting a little bit better as far as their live coverage goes?
No, because you would have to push the FPO tee time so far back. Because like if we teed off, because like right now, the first tee times for a lot of our events are like 10 o'clock in the morning, and the end like 3:30 or so is like when feature card goes off. So then you move everything 2 hours earlier. So that means 1:30. That means you wouldn't be able to have, essentially, to give your camera ops like 30 minutes to like recover. You would not be able to have FPO tee off until like 5:30.
Well, no, because like, so their field is smaller, right? So I mean, if they're starting, what
no
does
MPO lead card,
like,
MPO lead card, if they tee off at 1:30, which is 2 hours ahead of 3:30, they're finishing around probably 5 at a lot of courses.
Right.
So then you give your guys that just filmed 4 hours or 3.5 hours or whatever of MPO, you give them 30 minutes to take the bathroom break, 30 minutes to eat something, 30 minutes to do whatever, and then they go film FPO.
Right. So you're saying it's the same people that are recording both MPO.
Oh yeah. They're the people that are filming Disc Golf Network are monsters. They're out there all day.
Oh, I know they are. Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I mean, is it something that they could revisit, like, you know, I mean, this way out of my league, but like
too much money,
getting more people. Yeah, I mean, not like a whole new.
Think about all the extra hotels you have and all that stuff. And the only reason you have an extra camera person is simply because you don't want some people to have to wake up at 6:30 in the morning. Because it's not just paying them; it's also the hotels, the travel, like everything. These guys travel, like
yeah.
You know, it's like a carnival.
Yeah. So I'm just
basically doubling their expenses on camera, on the employees for camera ops, simply just to have people not have to wake up super early. I think right now doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Right now, maybe, but like, would it be something in the future that would make sense? Because
I think you would also want to put whatever product was going to drive the most money in the prime time spot.
But how do you know FPO isn't driving certain things if it's consistently at that time slot? You know what I mean? I know it had like a previous.
Look at the views. Look at the views that FPO had when they had an event by themselves and there was no MPO there.
Right.
And there was no MPO events going on to compete against it.
Right, but I don't have those numbers. But I see what you're saying. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, it was what, the U.S. Women's. What was it? U.S. Women's Disc Golf Championship.
I don't know. I watched it all, man. I mean, everything that was live, I watched.
The final course was actually.
I'm a sucker for the live coverage.
I will say the final course was absolutely fire. But yeah, I don't. I think if you look at those numbers, I mean, Disc Golf Network has those numbers too, of like they get to decide too what they want to have featured and whatnot. And I'm not saying that they probably don't put FPO in the primetime spot sometimes too. I mean,
yeah. All right. Well, hey, that's it. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
I Yeah, take it easy. I also personally like playing in the morning. I feel like a lot of my really good rounds this year have been like when I've had to go out early, like at 10 or something.
Yeah.
So like I would be all for playing at 8 o'clock in the morning. But it is what I think the coverage issue is the big issue when it comes down to it. And also I'll say, I think you have more like people that are like sitting around being like, I want to watch disc golf and FPO's on, being like, oh, I can watch FPO. Where if you have MPO in the morning and you tune in to watch all 4 hours of the coverage, you might be done with disc golf. You might just be like, all right, I'm tapped out. I got other stuff to do.
Very true. Very true. Well, there it is. Is
that a wrap? Did we do it?
Yeah, that turned into a full debate night. One of the longest episodes we've ever had versus little side Thursday stream. But hey, it seemed like it went well. And it seems like something we could pull off. So maybe this is something that we make debate night like once a month special.
Once a month.
Yeah.
Once a month.
I think we do something like that to where we keep it special. We might even be able to do it on like a Monday night to where we can still just post as a normal episode on Tuesday once a month, especially during the off season.
That'd be good. And I think too, like if you're listening to this, I think as you hear us talking, because like other people are, I've seen a couple tweets and stuff being like, what are we debating? What's going on? And it's like, as we talk, I'll bring up stuff, especially in this off season. Who knows what I'll bring up? But like, just jot it down in your notes. Be like, Brodie said something ridiculous. I want to talk to him about that. And when we get to the monthly call in, let's have a chat. Because honestly, the best conversation we had was the attire.
Yeah,
that was the best conversation. And he had some good points. We went back and forth a little bit here and there, and we're looking for more of that. I think stuff like that is the best.
Absolutely. Well, there it is. That's gonna wrap it up. Thank you all so much.
That's all I got.
It be here on Twitter Spaces.
Silas, do you have anything to say?
I don't know if Silas can talk because he's recording. So no. That's gonna wrap it up. Appreciate everyone for tuning in, whether it's here on Twitter Spaces.
All right, good points, Silas. Great points.
We'll talk to you all on Tuesday when we're back for the normal debate night. The first episode of the off season. Brodie's actually should be in town for that, so that'll be electric in studio. First time in a long time. But thank you all so much for tuning in. Talk to you then.